Okay, we're doing it live, and I can hear myself echo. Welcome everyone to ProBots 2020, 2025 season 1 of ProBots. I'm your host Drekken, and it's like we have never left. We're back to bringing the best bots across the Botiverse to go up and find out who is number one, who will be our new AI overlord. We have been doing this for, oh my God, I don't even know how many years. And you have always been here with us. Thank you so much for showing up every time that we do this tournament. So I'm, as always, joined by my casters, Ender Sword, and new to the casting desks, at least this time, Laughing Games.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
Yo.
Ooh, guys, we're here, and we're here to do ProBots. And
we've been doing it for 83 years. I'm pretty sure.
Well,
pretty sure.
The beauty of the longer this goes on, the better the bots get. So.
I mean, that's 100% true.
That's true.
That has not changed. Yeah, that is as long as we keep doing, the bots keep improving, like fine wine.
Mm-hmm.
Like fine wine.
So, I think it peaked with Doogie Howitzer. A machine learning cannon rushing bot. Can't go wrong.
So we're here, guys. So where am I getting? I'm getting an echo from somewhere.
It's loud.
Yeah, it's coming from somewhere.
It literally sounds like someone with a megaphone and a speaker outside protesting it.
You have like the audio on the YouTube stream?
No, it's gone now. It's gone now. It's gone now. All right. So, anyways, we're round of 16. Why don't we actually explain to those who are new how the setup goes? Give us the rectangles. Give us the setup.
Oh yeah, do we have rectangles? I missed the rectangles.
I'm hoping so. Let's find out if we can have the setup. Oh, here they are.
Formatted tournament. It is a double elimination group stage where the top two bots will advance on to the right rectangle, which is the round of 8 playoff single elimination. So you get 2 chances in that first rectangle, only 1 chance in the second rectangle. Quarterfinals are best of 3, semis best of 5, and the finals are a best of 7, just like the Stanley Cup playoffs or finals.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know hockey, so anytime you use hockey analogies, I have no clue.
It just ended. That's how I know we're passing
Did we
through
win?
time.
You just had to mention it, didn't you?
Somebody won. Florida won. Florida beat Edmonton again. It was basically a repeat of the last season. You don't need to watch it.
All right. Well, here we are. Group A. We have MicroMachine versus Caninana. And then actually, I just double check because I think, did we do all of Group A or are we doing Group A?
I think that's what we're doing. All of Group
A. All right.
Or no, sorry. This
we're
doing the starting matches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Group A, 2 matches, Group A and Group B. So we got Group A and Group, and then next week is Group C and Group D.
Yeah.
So Group A and Group B. So what we got going on is Caninana versus MicroMachine. Ooh, I'm excited for that one. I think MicroMachine always a stalwart, very reliable bot.
Yeah, he's the benchmark.
Yep.
MicroMachine is the benchmark for elitism.
And then no, don't take us away too quickly. I want to see more of these our brackets. Yeah, we need to keep talking through it. So yeah, Caninana, MicroMachine, and Xena versus TyrT on Group B.
Then we got SharpenedEdge versus new bot.
So there's a little bit of a problem with that will be Whalemean.
Whalemean, yeah. So new bot, same author. Shark Nice usually puts in Shark Bot, but this time he's going with Whalemean, which we'll get to. There's tons of poetry associated with that.
And then Dominiondog versus Zozo.
Yeah, that'll be a great match.
Yeah, Zozo used to be super cheesy, but in late
varies.
Now, Laughing Games, and I guess if no one's familiar with Laughing Games, if you're new to ProBots, you know Laughing Games, you cast a lot of these bots on your own channel.
Yeah, one a day. So I keep tabs on them.
You got to keep an eye on them for sure.
Yeah, got to make sure they're not getting too advanced or anything like that.
No, more advanced. Then tell us about like a favorite one out of these sets.
I mean, as far like
in terms of matches you want to see.
Oh, matches I want to see. As long as MicroMachine has its infestor crash bug fixed, I think MicroMachine Caninana is going to be awesome. Because that was a very specific bug, so it's going to make it an interesting match. Because like they would always play the late game, MicroMachine would have a crash if a unit got knurled by an infestor, so like a very rare case. But if a Caninana game goes long enough, there's going to be infestors, so it'll just be a really great match between those two, I think.
Which bot would you say you cast the most?
I'd say it's Benbot BC, just because it always has the long epic matches.
Yes,
that are good for YouTube. So I was actually meaning to like do a tally on my channel and see which bot really does get cast the most. It would probably be Benbot or MicroMachine, I think.
I believe MicroMachine. And then how do people do you choose the maps, the games yourselves, or do people submit them?
Some of the bot authors do send in replays, which means they're pretty much guaranteed to be a good game, because if a bot author's looking at a game and going, that's cool, then it's usually going to be a great game. Otherwise, I just cast sort of based off replay length and sort of just knowledge on how the bots interact with each other based on history. So like usually matches that are a good length for YouTube, so around 20 minutes or so.
Yeah. Dave, your favorite? Oh, look.
I think I've always liked Tier historically, but I always preferred Tier Protoss to TyrT.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. But Tier's usually got some pretty creative stuff across the board anyway. But yeah, I preferred Thanos Tier. But I think actually in that matchup, Xena is also interesting because it's one of the few random bots out there, and there's always some good cheeses, stuff like that. And then I think overall, I've always liked Shark bots playfulness, so I want to see Whalemean, kind of what the differences are and what sort of, it's always willing to try things, willing to snipe, willing to do cheesy stuff, willing to just make up a build and code it in a week and submit it next week, that sort of thing. So yeah.
And it's funny thing is like the fact that it's called Whalemean. I wonder if it's deliberately done to be like whale meme, and I don't know if that's just.
I assume it's
naturally.
whale. A whale is somehow an opposite of a shark, even though it's not. and then mean is opposite of nice.
That's mean. I thought it was like mean as like median.
Did you just think? Yeah, it was just the it was just the middle whale.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was the middle whale. So I was like, whale mean, like the mean. I was like, oh, okay, well, mean, shark, nice.
Yeah. Shark average, whale mean, and squid mode would be cool.
I hope so. We should make sure that's what we get a version of that. Yeah. So those are our matches for tonight, and then obviously then next week we will have Group C and D. But for now, let's I'll pass it off to you guys, and you can take everyone into our first match and break it down. Actually, before we do, there's something I did want to bring up. There's a couple things I want to bring up. I was so quick. We actually have new authors. We have a couple new authors in this season. 3 new authors. And something I wanted to point out, and maybe the first time, I don't know if this is the first time ever, but Tier came last seed. He was the last seed in this time. So 15th seed. Whalemean bumping him up because he submitted, even though Shark bot qualified. But we got 3 new authors, bringing 3 new bots into this. So it's healthy to know that ProBots still attracts new bots, and we still got a healthy rotation, even though MicroMachine has, I think, never missed a ProBots, which I guess either stands to the testament of MicroMachine or maybe advantage to how we qualify. Who knows?
Yeah, so the three new authors, the one that wrote Aeolus, GPT, and who's the third?
Big bot.
Big Bot, okay, right.
Yeah.
I like big bots. Can't lie.
Yeah. So yeah, new authors, new bots, and so they will be in. Yeah, so that'll be next week. We'll see. I don't know why it's so heavy to that way, but for whatever reason, I guess maybe how the seating works, they'll all be there. So okay, cool. And I think this is a good time. I'll let the casters take us into our first match, and hopefully it's actually showing the right one.
It's not. It's almost right. I would say that graphic
It's
is
half right.
It's 70.
Half right.
I'd even give it 75% because the Terran icon's right. So we just change the name and we're cool.
So hopefully the production will hear us and they'll put the right match in. And
I'm even gonna give them. I'm gonna keep upgrading it, but 83% right because Dominiondog and MicroMachine have the same alliterative property.
I don't think that counts.
I think it might. I think it might. This is how I'm scoring. So they
Nope,
now,
that's not it.
now it's less right.
It's
than it was.
40% now.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out. All right. Well, I'll let you
Whatever.
guys hopefully get the right match up, and then we'll see. Okay.
All right. Well, we at least know what it is. So it is going to be MicroMachine versus Caninana, which,
Yes.
as you have mentioned, may be interesting if MicroMachine hasn't fixed a fairly critical thing.
Yes. I like to be realistic about what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So that's something that's important to keep an eye on.
Indeed. Okay. There now, I think we're right. Yeah, and I like too that we're going to be in suspense on that bug because it's kind of a later game one.
Oh yeah.
MicroMachine has had a few crashes that, like, if it crashes in like 30 seconds, like the gas mining bug and stuff like that. But this will be a nice long one. Yeah. So, do we have? So I was a little unclear from Drekken if we've got like the stats pages and stuff like that. We may not.
I believe not.
No. So let's make stuff up. So MicroMachine, MicroMachine as of this point is undefeated, and so is Caninana. I think that's clear. Usually we display their elo from the AI arena, and you get a sense of where their rank is and their win percentage, etc. We can at least tell you in general, MicroMachine, as Drekken mentioned. Okay, there are going to be stats apparently.
Okay, let's see it. Move
yeah,
that bus.
MicroMachine, I think, has been around since season 1. It literally just made Marines and walked them across the map. That's basically what it did. And then it has evolved heavily since that point. Here we are. Yeah, MicroMachine.
Okay, cool.
Made by some Quebecois folks. RAF and Unusual. Coded in C++. Uses some reinforcement learning. Says 8 appearances, but I think it's more like 14. We just forgot how many tournaments there's been. However many there's been, that's how many it's been.
Yeah, very cool to see that the bot authors did have a say in the vetoes. So
yeah,
that's something that can really determine a bot's success rate.
For sure.
Like some bots just have a tough time on certain maps as far as like pathing and things goes. So that's quite important that they got to decide that.
Yeah, it does help you. Sometimes you have to code a whole use case for a specific map. So yeah, it does help. I think we only added that a couple seasons ago that we allowed vetoes, but yeah, it does make it a little bit easier. Weakness says here, it hasn't fundamentally changed in years, but we always say that MicroMachine is kind of the gut check. It's kind of the barrier to entry that you've got to be able to compete against MicroMachine. That's kind of the bar for really good. It's won tournaments multiple times. I think it's got at least 3 championships with us. And yeah, test different strategies, and then it will apply based on the past record. So it's got several builds, and then we'll iterate on that based on what it's seeing. On the ladder, it's got, dozens, if not hundreds of data points. In a tournament, it starts at 0, 0, 0. So it kind of starts with a default and then learns from there what it's doing.
Okay, so the bots have had their data reset, but
Yeah.
the authors have sent that in if they wanted to, like included it with their bot.
I think they can at least choose. Yeah, it doesn't have like the whole data set, I think, there, but I know that they'll often say, have it identify who you're playing against and then kind of pre-make that selection anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so there are a few things, and I know that they specifically will do that. It's aware of who it's playing, and then we'll kind of pick a strategy based on like I don't know, say hard-coded, but a predetermined thing. We've even had MicroMachine in our humans versus bots one, and MicroMachine will tend to do cheesy stuff against humans that it doesn't do against the other bots, like it'll proxy marauders and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's a bit pre-programmed in.
Okay, so Caninana, written by Ratosh. The bot with reactive playstyles tries to survive early game and play mid-late game with spellcasters. That's a bit of an understatement, I'd say, because it is probably the best late game Zerg bot out there.
Yeah, I think that is accurate, and I think this weakness has been here a while, but it's not as true anymore. I think there's been a lot of work done here, but says that he has issues dealing with cheeses and timing attacks, but I think over time that has gotten a lot better. Learning method doesn't learn; it's a snake, so there's nothing you can do. Special. I know that this is one of our like most quickly improved bots, I think. Like I remember when it first hopped on, I think its first thing was just kind of a simple roach rush, like a 7 roach rush sort of thing, and it's evolved into just using everything. And yeah, good at this stuff. Really good at the spellcaster control, like you said, like the neurals, and even the ability to then use the abilities of the things that it's neuraling. It'll jump away like battle cruisers and things like that.
Yeah, Caninana has some really great control, and it said there too, the compositions. Like Caninana picks very, very nice unit compositions based on what it's up against.
Yeah, definitely some really good ones, and it just fights really well, makes good decisions. Kind of once it gets control, it is kind of that if it can get through the early game, then it's really, really hard to dislodge it. Late game Zerg in general, I think, is just really, really good.
Oh yeah, like we've seen like just the matchup has really changed just because of things like Roach Burrow. A unit that's not efficient in regular StarCraft 2 games can be incredibly efficient in bot games. Then
very much. Yeah, I think that is the key. As we jump in here, you can see MicroMachine's text there. It'll give its win-loss rate with the various strategies, and it has like a code for like who it's playing against. So it's picking one here, an early expand to begin with, pretty common. And yeah, your point on the burrowed roaches, I've never not seen it be valuable. Like, it so screws with the other AI. Like, just the fact that you've turned a unit passive causes things, even if it can detect it, to instantly ignore it if there's other targets. The healing is almost always super valuable. Yeah, it's just that single-handedly wins games if you're not really good at it. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot to ask if we had they usually play like a preset intro, but I don't know if we have them this time. Okay, so okay, we'll go down here on the bottom right-hand corner of the map in the blue. It is our Zerg player, Caninana. I used to observe things. Yeah. There we go. Okay, that is better. It's everyone's got their little thing. I always this is set obviously to like damage health bars. I can't deal with that if I'm playing. I need to have I need to have health bars always. it's for some reason that bugs. I'm okay casting it, but for some reason it just seems very. I hate it when like one unit, especially since it applies to stuff like energy sometimes. That really bugs me. So I always play with them on. Yeah. 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 Armor damage. Yeah. Yeah, and you can see it kind of probing around. It sometimes, like, it doesn't know exactly where it is on the map, so it's not totally sure where it can jump or not. And will occasionally get cornered, as it is kind of here, but will he be able to escape out the way he came in? Perhaps. These queens are not really playing like a zone defense. Yeah. Yeah, good wall off there. Yeah, I think MicroMachine was one of the first spots to really, well, I think it was the first spot to really just lean on Mass Reaper and rely on complete control. Pathfinding has gotten better and better each season that we do this, and Reapers not knowing where to go, like this one's because of the building placement, so you don't know it from the terrain, but it was very common early on for people to trap the Reapers in horrible spots and things like that, but keeping them active. Sometimes a Reaper will single-handedly win a game if the opponent's not active. Yeah, trying to stay alive and trying to absorb. MicroMachine can be quite aggressive early on, so Caninana trying to just kind of stay alive during that part, switch into a mid to later game. Very crucial, given that MicroMachine tends to lean pretty heavily on the Banshee and Cloak. If you're not prepared for that, definitely keep you in your base. On the defensive for a long time. MicroMachine kind of tends to do this just constantly evolving punch situation. You can see it's trying to move out now, but is being held back a little bit by these lings kind of sneaking back through, causing them to come back. But they try to attack, and just as you think you've got a hang on that attack, then in comes a Cloak Banshee. Just as you think you've dealt with that, in come battle cruisers or something else. So it just tries to keep going, keep evolving, and you keep expanding behind everything. Yeah, definitely. Just keeping them active, having something that they need to retreat for or just go to the side for to deal with can be really, really powerful against a bot. Doesn't know what to prioritize. Here comes in the Banshee, and there is the first really good use of the Burrow. Again, if that saves you just a couple drones, then that alone is probably worth it. Yeah, very minimal damage there. Good roll, didn't really lose. Yeah, I don't think anything. And not a whole bunch spent on that. And there's one spore there, probably in the natural as well. So yeah, pretty handy so far. And you can see on the mini-map, Caninana is very active, as I said, with overseers, overlords around the map, keeping an eye on everything. Keeps an eye on everything. The middle path on this map is kind of an interesting one. If MicroMachine kind of put the effort into mining out the middle to create a path, it might be helpful for him because he does want to make his way across, but the amount of time that's taking almost always gives a window for Caninana to trigger something, pull him back, or distract him. Time will tell. Yes, this could be very anticlimactic. Fast, or it could work out. Work it. She again, kind of keeping itself alive for a while, but still not getting anything done. Just kind of chip damage on buildings. It doesn't really matter. And not taking out any drones. Does get a good scout off. Kind of equipped for what it sees anyway. Probably nothing surprising. I think it must be, because yeah, that's weird behavior. Yeah, which is definitely rare. Like, aside from the Banshee harassment, usually MicroMachine is all about the offense, and I do think it probably because it hasn't been coded specifically for these maps. That must be screwing it up. It's not terrain, it's just mineral, so it may not recognize that as a blocker. MicroMachine stuff not really centralized anywhere, but yeah, the battle cruiser coming out onto the field does certainly help. The roaches can't do a whole lot about that, but later on, see if the investors do.
For the prime targets for the infestors, so Caninana will eventually try and neural parasite one of those. We see the roaches getting great efficiency against the Marines, even with a battle cruiser shooting in the sky. The tanks, on the other hand, can potentially actually kill some of these roaches.
Yeah, tanks really, there's the neural, so he doesn't crash, so there we go.
Okay, hooray.
Yeah. Now it does teleport away that battle cruiser, not sure entirely where it went, but very likely onto a bunch of spores somewhere.
Yeah, maybe Caninana's natural is where it ended up. Probably where this one's going to end up. So, there we go. And there it is.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. Yeah, not getting out of there.
Okay, now we do still have MicroMachine on a very healthy number of bases compared to Caninana. Caninana is still on 4 bases, if I'm not mistaken, right? So,
Yeah, and the army supply is still very much in MicroMachine's favor as well, but it almost doesn't feel like that at the moment, just it hasn't enough to go on an offensive yet, but these tanks in that position that was stifling him earlier, that's actually a really good spot.
it really is, and MicroMachine does have a nice count of tanks presently. It's got to be at least like 8 tanks it's got out, and those will annihilate the burrow roaches. They can pick off the infestors if they wander too far forward, and the Raven is just the icing on the cake with pushing this tree back.
Yeah, definitely will help to clear that up. Now, the locusts coming in from the swarm hosts are going to be interesting around the tanks. Sometimes that can cause a lot of friendly fire, but, you know, Marines are cheap. They'll probably be all right.
Yeah, Marines are cheap, and MicroMachine has the economy to replace them, that's for sure, as it is maxed out now. Building up a bank, just going to be adding on production, getting more upgrades and stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll just have to make sure that Ravens stay out there. There was one Raven stolen by the infestor. Now we see the battlecruiser turning on its own medevacs with the help of Mongols.
Yeah, Caninana is... It's so darn good with those infestors. Like, it's just incredible efficiency to kill a battlecruiser with one spell like that.
Yeah, definitely good, and it's going to stop these battle cruisers from like massing up at all, which is really the key to it. A single battle cruiser isn't that scary, but once you get enough to really stabilize, I always find in these bot games there's certain units like a battle cruiser of 4 that the rest of your army can rally around.
Oh yeah,
They're like a point that gives you an anchor into the territory. But yeah, like multiple neurals going on here now. Yeah, it's hard to stop this. It's hard to get any initiative.
Yeah, now, time still is on MicroMachine's side, despite it taking horrendous trades, basically since the battlecruisers have got out, because Caninana has yet to start that 5th base, so it's going to begin mining out, and so we really do need to see Caninana get up a 5th base, ideally a 6th sometime after that as well, if it does want to play this game out for another 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, definitely true. It's efficient as some of those units are. They are very gas intensive in particular. It can be hard to replace if they do start going down. But, so far, good trades. But you see MicroMachine trying to float the command center to that bottom corner. Now that is cleared away. This thing base under assault.
Full HP battlecruiser gets teleported onto the spores. That one may actually barely escape. No, it doesn't actually run, so...
Not gonna try to. Yeah.
Does accept the fate there. Caninana is doing a good job harassing, like it has been interrupting some of the mining at MicroMachine's bases, but it really needs to keep that up, and we do finally have a 5th hatchery building for Caninana, which is very, very important.
Super key to keep that going, because you already see bases starting to mine out. Sure. The worker count never got particularly high for Caninana either. I think 72 now is the highest.
Yeah.
But yeah, just have to kind of keep it going. You can do it slow and steady, but you have to keep doing that steady part.
Yeah, Caninana really has been doing a good job of that slow and steady part. Like, we are almost at 200 supply, which is going to bode well for the Zerg because it is trading more efficiently than its opponent. And with securing up that 5th base, things are going to be looking up.
Yeah, continuing with the upgrades and stuff too, which is pretty key. Now getting a lot of the air upgrades.
How many DCs have died so far? 7 dead battle cruisers. Ouch. Yeah, the resource loss gap is big. It's not ginormous yet. But I think the tank's probably helping MicroMachine out a fair bit.
Yeah, I think they've been the convoluted like S pattern through the map is helping there.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Like this is a meat grinder each time you this is, I think, what we kind of need is a small detachment of submarines that are away from those main groups. That this is where you can get a lot of damage done in things.
This is what MicroMachine does so well, controlling all its units independently, and it did disrupt some mining up on 5th base. However, Caninana seems to have regained control. All the while, battle cruisers are dying, Zerg is dying, trying to push through that middle location. This is a phenomenal game between these two.
Yeah, definitely glad that they did it.
Yeah, me too. Like, this is great. And, yeah, things do seem to be looking alright for MicroMachine, though. Caninana has dipped in supply again. I'm not sure if that's because of it changing up its unit composition. Like, it likes to make lots of wings sometimes and sort of throws them away a bit.
It's been struggling with the minerals kind of throughout the whole game here, and I think now it's having to replace drones a little bit too. But yeah, even the roaches, like, roaches are generally cheap because, like, they're supply expensive, but they consume minerals if you have to replace them. So the gas is healthy, but the minerals are not.
Yeah, can we see how many infestors Caninana has as well? Like, I think it does tend to have a cap, but it's actually made 8 this game, which is very good. So, like, should be able to get some efficiency with those. We do see Vikings getting neural parasited, shooting each other. Caninana even has behavior to land neural parasited Vikings, which is just next level.
Yeah, that is a really good one. Yeah, there's kind of like just a lot of fighting in this middle part. MicroMachine has to get a hand free to get another little detachment down after Caninana and the Rangers. One really key part to this game is that MicroMachine's gotten away with this bottom left base for a long time now.
Yeah, the bottom left, and it looks like it's standing or has landed the top right already. So it has officially taken a base. It's rightfully Caninana's.
So there's eventually going to be a fight over that kind of like middle leftish base.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably Xena. But so far keeping things on the other side. Now making some progress through the middle, a little bit less of a death trap, but still hard to really get up established. Battle cruisers, as they actually start to accumulate, there's 3 of them now in the middle, that can get out of control.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a point where you can't neural everything and jumping away, but so it has to be cautious for that. But also at the cap, it's hard to command.
Caninana also keeps running in overseers. Like, it's lost quite a few of those. If we can see the unit lost again. Like
that supply block.
It does keep getting supply block, which means it's lost quite a few overseers. And now the BCs are doing work. I think the tanks have probably been killing some of the infestors, which means the BCs have been safer. MicroMachine is just doing everything right this game, basically. Like, there's not much that we can point at and say, MicroMachine needs to do this or that. Like, it's just slow and steady and doing very, very well for it.
Here, this may push it back as he's gone in a bit too far, but that's fine. I think this is really good progress made. And I think, yeah, MicroMachine just kept the pressure on, and you could be a little inefficient when, or even a lot inefficient when you've got like the bases.
Oh yeah, any trade at this point is good for MicroMachine because Caninana, as we can see, is struggling to replace units, bringing in only 1,200 minerals a minute, and that's simply not enough to sustain the rate of trade that it's going for.
Yeah, and some of these are heavy, like that was basically a neural tank, but then the infestor that neuraled it got by a tank splash and died.
Yeah.
So things like that don't end up being great. Interesting to hear, finally mining through that middle. Opens up another path.
One of those walls did get... I'm not sure if it was Caninana or MicroMachine to find that out.
Yeah, it's a weird... I assumed it was Caninana because it's on his side, but I don't know. But yeah, I was kind of waiting to see if that would start to happen with like long-distance mining, or I don't know if it's deliberate.
Yeah, I think it must have just been long-distance mining. Caninana is trying to do some of that. It did mine out the patch between like its 4th and its 5th base as well, but Caninana is just running out of steam here.
Yeah. And weirdly opening, I mean, opening that gap too actually makes it harder to take the only unclaimed base. Because now MicroMachine can just cut in front of it. So it used to be you don't engage them until later. And now it's, yeah, a wall of lanes here.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that when MicroMachine doesn't crash, it can contend with the better late game bots. The build choice just to macro up and then, funnily enough, yeah, the delayed push because of that mineral padding kind of set MicroMachine up for a good late game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, whether that was, again, not deliberate, but it worked out that way, and it's, yeah, a huge wave of updates here coming.
That is so many things.
So it's now here, and then also that site blocker in place would be really, really annoying to try to clear it.
Yeah, Neural Parasite on a tank, but I believe the Infestor died there. MicroMachine is dropping so many scans trying to take that base in the upper right. I mean, Caninana is fighting on, like, it crawled a little bit further up in supply because it does have that one still relatively fresh base. I think it's doing some long distance mining. But now we are seeing that base be pressured.
Yeah, this one going down is pretty much the nail. Sweeping on in. I think that leaving that base in the back of this angle is going to be hard to drive out of.
Yeah, MicroMachine just so active with all its units. Like, they're always poking and prodding. And then just constant production has worn Caninana down. Like, I think the only thing that I can say about MicroMachine that's negative at this point is that it never gets ground mechanical attack. So, like, the tanks don't have any attack upgrades, but they're still doing just fine.
Yeah, they're putting in work. I think one thing that just kind of, once you fix the crash probably you mentioned, the style that MicroMachine uses to attack, splitting up so much, makes things like the swarm host less effective. They kind of, you know, send the locusts in on location, but you really need to have the capacity to deploy them and shift your army from a lot. Maybe have them on cooldown, and they're just stuck in free mode. And you eventually get this slow collapse from, like, basically three angles.
Yeah, a very, very great game by MicroMachine. I'll be curious to see what the next map brings between these two.
Yeah, I think the map will make it bigger. It's clear that MicroMachine wanted to attack earlier with the few elements of the tank and just kind of never got there.
Yeah, almost to its detriment. So if it attacks in the next game, that could actually be a bad thing. But either way, it's still got pretty good odds in the late game, as we can see it.
The trade-off to it is, and I guess I assume it will pick probably a similar build, because it will tend to if it's one, continue on with it. But obviously, the Banshees that came in and ultimately didn't do anything in this game. The whole point is they're supposed to be there when you're shooting at your front door with the other stuff, but in this, so that's supposed to be the trade-off there. But we didn't get to see that. But yeah, MicroMachine's still carrying it off. And yeah, good game. So it's going to be Acropolis next, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, Acropolis. I'm ready for that whenever we get into it. I guess in the meantime, just...
Okay, we're going back to Drek? Are we? Okay. All right, come on in. Okay. We don't know. I don't know. Usually Drekken says hi, then we just forget about him for 3 hours. but he's coming back.
All right. So the reason why I came in, because we went in a huff and puff, and I didn't tell people that they need to subscribe. If you're here, you need to subscribe. We didn't tell them that. And then,
people know that they need to like and subscribe. People know that they need to hit the thumbs up button. People know that they have to hit the notification icon so that the fact that you subscribed actually tells you you've done something. People know that. We don't have to tell these smart people to like and subscribe down below.
We have to give them
They know
the
that.
boop, the boop. But also, hey,
Alright.
if you say it out loud, like YouTube will make the little thing glow. So we have to say it.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get glowing effect. So it's not just
Glowing
a call
effect.
to action anymore; it's a call to graphic design.
Yeah, we
Some
call to
kind?
the algorithm. We
Okay.
call into the
Yeah.
algorithm. But more importantly, if you're actually starting a bot and you're watching these bots and you want to get yourself your own bot, you can get started less than 30 minutes. I put together I like to think the best, if not the only guide of how to get yourself started on a Python SE2 bot in the description below. You can get like Laughing Games. You used it.
I did. It was the only one I could understand and follow. So I will. I can attest to it.
There it is. I got my testimonial. And it's true. It's because truly and honestly, when I first got it started, there are a lot of great people out there that made guides, but I found them too hard to follow. I think they're maybe a little bit too high. High level in terms of the way like they're talking to coders. And if you're not like a coder, or if you're like a StarCraft person and you're like, I want to get started with this, I made it hopefully as easy as possible for you to get started and build your own bot. And there's and then after that you can fully there's a Zergrush bot that follows along it. Like Laughing Games has a Zergrush bot, so you can follow that along and super easy. And then we'll hopefully see Endersword's bot one day.
Maybe.
And just a last thing to follow up on is that Laughing Games doesn't know, but we have a rivalry between my bot and his bot.
Oh yeah.
Because...
I'm aware.
So
of
you-
this.
Okay.
I just hope, I don't know if he knows, but I have been prepping in stealth because of his cheesy floodlings. So
it's your fault. You created it. You created the guide.
Yeah, that's true. It's true, but it's all good. And so yeah, absolutely. If you want to get yourself one of the bots like these, get started. There's a guide in the description below. All right, so I'll let these guys take it away from that. I just wanted to come and tell you, and I'll be back to tell you more later on during the break, before the break. All right, guys.
Sounds good to me. And of course, if you go watch that guide, then like and subscribe to that one too.
Of course.
You got to hit those buttons everywhere.
We just need
always.
to have the psyop to like and subscribe in full effect.
Exactly. It's and with the psychological manipulation of the call to action, which everyone thinks doesn't work on them. They're like, oh, I hate when people mention the thing because whatever. Well, it works though. So you can think you're the exception, but you're not. So I think we are going on to game number 2. We don't have a timer, but I think they might be ready anyway.
I think they're waiting.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Oh,
we're gonna get a replay from the first game, or yeah, little replay packs. Early on here, the Banshee coming in. Okay, well this is really early. It would be a good replay to just replay the intro from the previous game. All right. Well, the replay pack is only 3 seconds long, but it's here we go. You got past that bump.
I personally want to know if how many more battle cruisers MicroMachine would keep alive if it just preemptively teleported to PC. So it was always on cooldown. They couldn't be teleported onto spores.
Yeah, that would be an interesting strategy. Well, you cast a lot of Benbot DC. It often burns its own cooldown as it tries to jump into the so it often doesn't have it. But yeah, that's a good point.
That would be my lazy fix to try and solve that problem.
Yeah. It's a good fix, especially if you're not really going to use it to get away.
Yeah.
And against certain compositions, you might, like against Protoss, often you'll get, you're trying to jump away from like stalkers. But in this type of composition, one, it's a bunch of roaches that can't hit you anyway. The only thing you're trying to escape is the infestors. So what do you need it for? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it would be I think it would be interesting just to, it's like one of those things, because there's so many different angles you can approach, like, what do I work on with my bot today? And if MicroMachine's bot author wanted to see how they could potentially improve their win rate against Caninana, just do a test. Have your battle cruisers burn a teleport every time. Maybe your win rate goes up.
Yeah.
There's little tweaks you can make that might be good, might be bad.
Yeah, I do think it would work, and especially since the enemy bot seems to expect it, is not setting it up for anything else. He's just assuming, because it also doesn't teleport them right away. It's like trying to have it sit there, then try and teleport it at the end. So if that fails, then you've just kind of left it alive. Like you're frustrating its plan. So yeah, I think that would be interesting to. We got little previews of this, but up here in game number 2 on the top left-hand corner in red, it is our Terran player, MicroMachine. Yay. Effects.
All right. And in the bottom right, down 0-1, it is Caninana.
Yay. Go Caninana. So pool here before gas. And I didn't pay attention there in chat. If we could pop the chat up, I want to see if MicroMachine announced its opening, but I bet it's early expand again.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay. So you can see here, yeah, for anyone that hasn't seen it before, it says its record in the past openings. So we'll learn from that on what to do. But if it's 1, then it's likely going to stick with the same thing.
And that is, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of having multiple builds built into your bot. You can have a strategy that's just a total dud, and then it'll just write it off after a couple games. So, yeah, but
I like that the P follows the terrain.
yeah,
That's
fancy.
That's very high level P play. This one, the map, a little more open through the middle. It kind of diverts you to the side once you get closer to the edges, but there's not that same sort of blocker situation. So MicroMachine might be a bit more aggressive early on. And likely send a Reaper out, which stuck around for a while the first game, but ultimately didn't really do much.
Yeah, it didn't get too much done, but in this game it might not get cornered because of the spawning pool and roach warren placement, which means this Reaper could actually stay alive a lot longer, potentially. There is a bit of a more unique cliff here on Acropolis because it's just got that like one little, like very narrow but long cliff spot to jump up. The MicroMachine may not even know how to use that.
Doesn't know how that smoke works either. The sight blocker saving that lane.
Okay, the Reaper running away, kiting those lings. Keeping Caninana on its toes. It may actually get a couple of these lings, which would be some nice value.
A grenade there to shove them back, but kind of a mix here. Like MicroMachine does want to get in here and scout and get some information, things like that, but picking up a couple lings, it's better than nothing. But in a sense, that's kind of Caninana is looking around for proxies. MicroMachine is known to proxy every now and then, but pulling off the Reaper from getting into the main is kind of helpful.
Yeah, the map definitely having an effect here already. The natural of Acropolis has a really tight choke point, so the Reaper isn't actually going in, it's just sort of hanging out. It may potentially delay an expansion or pick off a few more lings. Caninana runs another one out there. Try and get its own scout.
Just chilling in the front. And this can also be, if he's keeping a few of these extra lings off the map. Also, we saw in the first game that just having a stray ling here or there really disrupted the movement of the rest of the army.
Yeah.
So just pulling them slightly to the left, slightly to the right to try and chase it down. So minimizing that, as a few have died here at the wall off of the natural. And that tank on the high ground. So keeping it clean definitely helps out. Every now and then one sneaks out.
Yeah, we do have Caninana able to push that Reaper away and secure its third base location. That may come under fire, though, as MicroMachine is building up that early game army once again, and that third base could be a prime location to attack.
Also, for anyone that hasn't seen it before, this bunker being built between the two gases is for speed gas mining. So you're going to have these SCVs going in and out of this, allowing him to mine more quickly with this.
Yeah, that is one of the coolest things that any bot has implemented in it. MicroMachine sort of has a monopoly on doing that. No other Terran bot authors have adapted that mechanic, but it's one of the really cool things that shows what you can potentially do with a bot.
Yeah, definitely. You can be quite inhuman. A lot of them would be... I don't know if we jumped forward there or what, but not too far if we did. The main army is trying to come down through the middle again, but you can see kind of each time a
one
link
ling.
gets in. Yeah, the pullback, which is a bit of a overreaction. But will he return to the offense here? But even that sort of thing can be so disruptive to the timings that you're trying to hit. Just that sort of pullback, you know, delays an attack 10 seconds, and suddenly things don't really line up anymore.
It really can, and that just highlights one of the challenges that programmers face. Like, something as simple as a single Zergling in your base can set off all your defensive code if you don't have allotments for things like just a single Zergling. And yeah, MicroMachine so far is just unable to make an attack happen. Caninana does get a nice burrowed ling on that third base location just right before MicroMachine tries to build a command center on that location. Scan gets dropped to kill the ling, but the delay has already happened. Who knows, maybe Caninana will be able to sneak another ling there.
Yeah, we see here again a lineup of MicroMachine wanted this attack to already be at the front of Caninana's door, and then these Banshees come in the back while everything's distracted, but the army's not where it's supposed to be. So all of a sudden, here's like 6 queens totally able to deal with this when they should have been pulled somewhere else.
Yeah, this Banshee is doing a good job staying alive. There is dead space on Acropolis that it can hang out in. We do see the consequences of that third base block, and that MicroMachine just expanded towards the fourth base.
Yeah, MicroMachine's army kind of clustering around this third base, which is also like the distant third because of that one burrowed ling.
Mm-hmm.
A little odd there too, but you know, you can always backfill that one. But in the meantime, the army's just kind of in a weird spot.
Yeah, it is going to sort of change the location where MicroMachine places its forces. Another Banshee coming on in. Does get responded to by the Queens of Caninana. I really got to say, the micro of Caninana's Queens, just as far as pursuing these Banshees in combo with the Overseer, really has been phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really good active use of all that stuff. Not letting them find any in here kind of makes the cloak itself worthless.
Oh man, look at this. We're getting not just a 5th base, but a 6th base already on the way for Caninana. Compared to last game,
Yeah,
that is infinitely better.
quite. And we're only now just starting to get some of this, like, cleaning up the fringe of the creep.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been established here. And I think without that sort of blocking terrain, too, we don't have, like, this tank stronghold that we had in game number 1.
Yeah, it is, it's a completely different game. Caninana's position does seem to be a little bit better. Now, Micro Machine is still macroing up strongly itself. It does have those command centers on the way. And look at this beautiful concave for Micro Machine. Caninana death sword with its roaches. However, there's a Raven to reveal them, tank fire to kill them quickly. And that was a great fight for the Red Heron bot.
Yeah, Micro Machine does have to seize on this and try and get some economic damage done or establish like a good foothold here. That was probably the best possible engagement. So,
oh yeah, that was phenomenal. We see some really nice bio clustering as well from Micro Machine presently. It's keeping it fairly tight, which will do well against the roaches. It's now burning through the keen energy, forcing transfuses, that kind of thing. All the while, the tanks are inching forward, and they're getting dangerously close to this base.
yeah, if they get kind of established about up to that little shrubbery in the middle here, catch that reference. Then there's going to be then there's trouble. But yeah, the jumping on the tanks without the Marines in front of them potentially clears this up. And behind this is going to be a wave of investors.
Yeah, that was Caninana taking a really great fight there. Micro Machine did trade out too much of its buffer for the bio, so at some point the math changed and it said, hey, I can't stay here, I've got to retreat, even though the better thing to do would have been to sit tight with those siege tanks, but it unsieged them. Caninana took the engagement, which was great. We're now starting to see those Neurals land as well, as a Raven throws down some auto turrets. There's a landed Neural Parasited Viking, but Caninana does manage to stem the tide and solidify a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. That looked dangerous for a little bit. Had that gotten close enough to really attack that base, then that could be very disruptive. Micro Machine kind of has to regroup here and get something going, but yeah, it may be harder this time around. Like I said, the economy of Caninana just a lot stronger. There's not going to be the same sort of mineral bleed out that there was.
No, there isn't as much of a clock against Caninana. Now, one thing I do want to bring up, though, is that Micro Machine is building orbital commands at all of its bases, not a bot that builds planetaries, and so that does give the Terran bot higher income the longer the game goes on and the more bases it takes generally, because mules are very good. So that is something that can let Terran make a lot of units. And so we'll see if Micro Machine can potentially still overwhelm Caninana. Although incomes right now are fairly close, actually in favor of Caninana for a minute there, but now turning the other way.
I think some of this is going to come down to another big difference. We're going to have like 4 to 5 NPCs coming up.
Yeah.
With Viking support, with Raven support, right off the bat. This is quite a bit different. The first game we just saw individual DCs come in. They can still be neural.
Oh, there it goes.
But it is more stable. They're able, like, look at the remainder of this army that's able to move forward on the back.
Yeah.
And even if we lose those 2 DCs, if one of them gets away, it's a different.
That was quite an engagement from Caninana, neuraling the DCs, then diving on the tanks, but still, Micro Machine does have a very formidable army on the creep, enough HP being just sort of soaked by the battle cruisers to maintain this presence here, and Micro Machine is all of a sudden on the throat of its opponent. We do actually see a rare battle cruiser teleporting to safety instead of to death.
This is where we hit that part I talked about in the first game of these swarm hosts are useless for a little bit. So when you're this type of Zerg, you want to engage briefly and then pull away and have your opponent pull away. If your opponent's keeping pressure on and can actually maintain a position, you're not really set up for that. Which it's starting to disperse here, but and a lot of damage done to that.
Yeah, Caninana just hasn't been able to maintain the trades or against Micro Machine, and so its supply has been falling, and then that's just sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy at that time, in which you take worse fights when you've got lower supply, and on and on and on. A little bit of harassment from Micro Machine at these bases is really nice, forcing all those drones to burrow. slows down the income. Meanwhile, MicroMachine is just happily mining on its side of the map, and presumably dropping some mules as well.
I think he's worked in this first game as well. Just a few Marauders, like a handful of them that are part of these little detachments. They're just slightly more stable than a small group of Marines.
Yeah.
They can make use of that concussive shell, which is really annoying for like Queens. And yeah, they just stay alive better with medevac support.
Yeah, I mean, Caninana is still fighting to stay alive in this game, but like if we look at the workers right now, things are looking quite difficult. Like we think of Caninana as that late game Zerg bot that takes all the amazing trades, but like MicroMachine is actually out trading Caninana presently, and
yeah, very different situation. Now we're on at least top base. I think that is real opposition.
yeah, we've hit the path forward here as the result's pretty clear. Once Caninana falls in supply a little bit, it's just a death result. Beautifully done by MicroMachine. I really do wonder what updates were done to it, because obviously that bug was fixed. Like, unit grouping was just so good.
Yeah, quite good. Good decisions on what to separate. Sometimes there was a little excessive medevac support, 8 medevac Marauders, but it worked. Yeah, the tanks, it's a really, really good fight at the start of this game, like several minutes in. It was really a backbreaker on resetting a lot of that roach count, which you really want to be alive. But then I don't know if it's deliberate to hold back BCs or whether the timing just worked out, but going in with like 4 to begin with, if you're there with 1 or 2, they're all getting knurled. Go in with 4, they knurled 2, one of them even escapes because it doesn't get teleported. Like that's just so much more stable than going in, trickling in. So yeah, really good there.
Yeah, well done, as MicroMachine is able to take a 2-0 and advance to the winners match.
Indeed. So that's our first match. On to number 2. We got SharpenedEdge versus Newbot.
Whalemean.
Yeah, Whalemean. So this is from the author of SharkBot, whose name is Shark Nice. So this is Whalemean. And so Whalemean, or at least the author, SharkBot or Shark Nice, tends to regale us with a little bit of poetry. On the bots. So we've got a description, I guess, of Whalemean here, which I will read prior to us getting towards the stats. In the digital sea where SharkBot swam, a quirky idea began to jam. A bite of code, a spark unseen. This is the story of Whalemean. For 30 long days with circuits quickened, it feasted on nothing but buttered chicken. No restroom breaks, not once, not twice, just spicy sauce and fragrant rice. Its belly grew round, its code turned strange, a hunger for knowledge, a taste for change. SharkBot waited, ever so prudent, for a sign of a bowel movement. Then late one night, with a thunderous sound, a new AI awoke, profound. From SharkBot's code and parts unseen, burst forth the legend, Whalemean.
That is pure poetry.
Yes. The best poem I've ever heard about a bowel movement.
Yeah, I think we are going to back up a little bit and have a replay from that.
Oh, well, I saw a Protoss building there, so that, yeah. Things poking in. This was that first really big engagement. So they come up the ramp into a bunch of tank fire. This is the kind of counter pushback, clearing out that top position mostly. And then this was you can see even this battle cruiser escaping away from that neural parasite, and keeping 3 of those 4 alive definitely was a key to that game.
Yeah, that like the tank usage from MicroMachine, I think, is really critical because it gives it an anchor point just to hold those positions. So big fan of that, and well done to the Red Terran bot. I'm not sure when we're going to go into the next game, but or if Drekken's going to come in and tell us to say it, but click that like button and subscribe if you guys haven't already.
Indeed. It helps the channel.
It does.
It helps the algorithm. We're talking about bots, training another bot to show more people bots.
It's bots all the way down.
Yeah, which you would think it would want to do. Maybe the algorithm for YouTube is like proud of the other bots, so it wants to show people those, which it's good. So yeah, I don't know if we got stats coming up for SharpenedEdge and Whalemean, aka new bot.
Yeah, we do have a timer until the next game, so
Yeah. So maybe there's
it's
something
going to be coming.
So SharpenedEdge is another one. If we're not bringing it up, it's one that's been here since near the beginning as well. One of the first bots that really got into the late game units. I think it was the first one that really used like High Templar, was using disruptors, things like that in the game, which yeah, it was pretty innovative. Like a lot of the first seasons of this were very tier 1, tier 2 units, or like basic A move units, and it's really hard to use some of the other abilities, but SharpenedEdge was kind of one of the first pioneers for that, and has always kind of been a mainstay throughout this stuff.
Yeah, SharpenedEdge is a very exciting to watch bot. It's held up well over time, sort of similar to MicroMachine. Not getting tons of updates, but still just looking very good. And then, of course, it has the open framework, the Sharpie framework, which a lot of other great bots are built off. For those of you wondering, it is an open source bot framework that takes a lot of the heavy lifting required out of programming a bot, so that you can sort of get started with playing around a little bit quicker.
Yeah, all other bot knowledge is based on Sharp. It's basically like the Plato of this shit. Just foundational Greek philosophy of a bot. Something like that.
Yeah, it really is exciting bot, and then we'll see how it's going to do against the presumable ridiculous cheese that Whalemean will be throwing at it, because like Sharkbot is already cheesy. You add random into that, and you just know you're gonna get something crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, very unpredictable. Yeah, very many strategies, which Whalemean is, or the author is definitely known for doing, and some of them will definitely be like Mimi. Sure.
Yeah. Well, like Sharkbot alone is one of the more cheesy bots, like in tournaments and on the ladder and stuff. Like it does DT rushes, cannons, everything. The bot author has a Terran bot. They have a Zerg bot. And so naturally, you make a random bot and you throw all the dirty cheese together.
Exactly. So I think we're ready to go directly into the game. If I heard that right. I mean, I saw the game earlier, so we'll go in. We've got like such a cool picture for Whalemean. Up here on the somewhat top right-hand side, it is our red Protoss player. It is SharpenedEdge.
Okay. And in the bottom left, the random bot Whalemean spawning as Protoss and then lying and saying it's Zerg.
Very important. The history for people that don't know too is and I still don't understand what this even really means, but SharkBot started as a chat bot. It was not a player bot, but it was apparently a chat bot sitting on the Battle.net like StarCraft server, like the original, and it had its own website, and then somehow he took that chat bot and incorporated it into a playing bot, and that is why it was in general chat. So I don't know, probably talking about Trump or something.
Yeah, learning to be super toxic.
Yeah, exactly. It's there was one game, I think maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago, we had to censor something that Sharkbot said. It said a word that I don't know if it's allowed to say. Actually, in its new Orca form, I think it would be allowed to say it. But yeah, it gets a little randy, but it can respond to the enemy bot. And if you play it on the humans versus bots, it will talk to you.
Yeah, it might. It might not say nice things.
No,
but
I
it will
won't.
talk to you.
Not even might. It will not say nice things to you.
Okay, so we've got Whalemean going for a proxy pylon against SharpenedEdge, which just wants to play an honorable PvP and expand.
Yeah.
Now, this can be a bit of a weakness of SharpenedEdge at times, in that it does, when it does open up in a macro opening, it can be susceptible to cheese, and there we have a robo right outside of its base.
That could be obviously especially annoying when you've kind of walled your natural, that you're going to have an immortal dancing around outside or whatever this ends up being. But it could help keep the early adept cards out if you stick something in there. He does scout this at least, and we'll go to work on this pylon potentially before anything can be brought up.
Yeah, I don't know, an adept is pretty darn slow.
Yeah, it's not great, but maybe there'll be more. There's a zealot coming.
Okay, yeah, we'll see if SharpenedEdge is going to dive on top of this or not with everything. It's one of those...
He's not attacking the right thing, unfortunately.
No, he's trying to kill the robo. Now he's switching to the pylon so the robo can regen some shields. Yeah, this is a little concerning for SharpenedEdge. It does have a stalker, a sentry on the way, but that immortal is going to pop out, and that is going to be very concerning for SharpenedEdge.
I see these adepts, but unfortunately the shading around has just caused him to diversify his tactics there. There's a sentry. I don't know how well that's going to be used for anything, but
yeah, I mean, if the immortal like walks on in, maybe it can be force fielded, but there's not enough units to kill the immortal anyway. There is 3 zealots out. Very bizarre, but this is great for Whalemean. Getting the adepts into the main base of SharpenedEdge. That's going to crush its income. The zealots do actually get a surround on the immortal somehow, though. That is ginormous.
Yeah, if they accidentally kill the pylon.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the zealots are working away on that. The next immortal is about to pop out. This is actually so close. Oh, the immortal does not pop out. That is huge for SharpenedEdge.
He's actually going for a warp prism there too. Not
oh, right. Pardon me.
Yeah. But interesting. So yeah, that not only takes out the warp prism, takes out the pylon for the forward warp location. He powers one of the gateways. This gets cleaned up, but this may be enough to halt things. And of course, while a lot of workers there were just killed by those adepts, it's 2 bases versus 1.
Yeah, that is not good for Whalemean. Like, that prism just about popped out. The immortal getting caught in the corner by zealots really was not great for it. It was trapped against those mineral patches, so maybe the padding not taking the mineral patches into account or something like that. Yeah, now it's just a couple of gateway units fighting a couple of gateway units.
Not the ideal situation, and Whalemean's economy is obviously built for this stuff still being operational. Not really coordinating the stalkers against the enemy stalkers, so losing more than necessary, but in the long run, the hope there is that the economy weighs this out.
Yeah, and it should do. Now, it's not necessarily over for Whalemean, because, I mean, Whalemean's probably shares a lot of code with Sharkbot, which is a very good macro Protoss bot, and bots are not known for being lethal or killing their opponents quickly, so there is a chance that maybe Whalemean will transition out of this or something, but for now, just rinse and repeat, send in a couple of stocks. Not good.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried what the trigger is. Actually, when this robo dies, he may transition, but I kind of think it almost doesn't acknowledge the pylon's gone and this is over.
Because not building anything else. It's even not building any more stalkers, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Whalemean may just have lost the will to live after that proxy was shut down.
It does appear that way. SharpenedEdge going up to third base, and yeah, at some point we'll go on the offense. It's still, though, just kind of not using the army together. So, I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, I don't think, but definitely losing way more stalkers than were necessary given the numerical advantage.
Yeah, Whalemean still just floating money, not producing a single thing at this point. There may be like a timer for it to transition or something, but
I know
maybe
that
not.
because there's so many builds, we've talked about this in past seasons too, of like, if you need to build 50 cheeses, a lot of people just don't build a follow-up because it's like, if this failed, it failed. I could make another 2 builds, or I could try and build a late game to this thing. And they just kind of are like, no, I'm not going to try and recover loss I lost.
Yeah, that's true, and it seems like that is the case. So just a matter of, I think, fast forwarding at this point and seeing if.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna get the walk across now, maybe. And yeah, because there's just no activity there. Still a lot of APM for doing nothing.
Yeah, Whalemean / Sharkbot are some of the bots that have like the highest APM for doing nothing.
Yeah. You gotta stay active. Keeps your hands fresh. And yeah, nothing now. Just kind of long distance mining, but yeah, I don't think there's ever any trigger to.
The lights are on, but nobody's home. Yeah. Well done by SharpenedEdge for handling that proxy.
Yeah, good hold again. A bit of a unforced error by the Immortal, but you know, had that not been caught that quick, probably wouldn't have gotten the pylon, and then maybe in a different situation. But hold regardless.
Hey, it started building things.
Yeah. That's what we need, an Oracle. We need a 9-minute Oracle.
Well, I mean, it's like, I guess I better start building other things now. Well done to SharpenedEdge as it takes the lead in the series.
There we go. But our next game, of course, could be totally different because 1, it won't do the same cheese, and 2, it may not be the same race, and 3, it may lie about a different race.
That is the beauty of random bots. You will always get a different game.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see if Whalemean has maybe more of a lethal cheese programmed.
Quite possible. I assume there's a lot of diversity in there. This one can often work. Like it's again, had that not been caught, then that delay, even losing the Immortal, which you inevitably eventually would, just keeps the buildings alive. We could see that the trade-offs stalker to stalker were not crisp. So that could have easily snowballed out. And had he not cleaned it up too, like there's also the 2 adepts that could have just kept themselves alive a lot longer in there too, because they did get a fair number of worker kills. It's just 2 bases. You need a lot.
Not a clean game by any means, but it was still well done by SharpenedEdge.
Yeah.
That map as well, Automaton, like you have that huge cliff which messes with pathing. The proxy location of Whalemean wasn't necessarily the best either. Like it was right in the pathing location of SharpenedEdge to find it.
Well, we're going on to Whalemean's home territory. We're going into a reef.
Under the sea.
Yeah, we'll see how the whale does this time. Let's hop in.
Okay, there it is. In the upper left, rolling Zerg. It is Whalemean, the random bot. And what else are you gonna do when you cheese as a random bot?
It's a different response this time to the same thing. Down here on the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have our red Protoss player. It is SharpenedEdge. Now I wonder if, and I bet it does does Whalemean always lie? In which case you can use like the Enigma machine cracking.
You could, yeah.
Right? You never. It should be a random response instead of a lie.
That would actually be funny. I mean, and it's like if you ever play StarCraft on the ladder, you can have people tell you their race when they roll random. You're not going to believe them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this is
You
bad.
can't rely. This is pretty bad. They are attacking a little too soon and not getting to the spot they need to be. They're not going to be synced up with these lings want them.
We do seem to have a bit of a bug on the stream. Oh, there we go. It went away. Okay, so a couple of drones are doing their job of trying to prevent the wall. However, they're waiting for their friends that are not coming because they're chasing a probe. These two drones are doing really good work, though.
Yeah, that's luckily everyone's doing bad except these guys.
Imagine if all 8 of them were here, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, the Zealot did get out, and another one on the way. It's going to get into the good position here. There's still an opportunity to mineral walk or something.
Yeah, a drone drill would be very important.
Yeah.
The production
Okay.
of...
It just walked out of
Oh, that
the
worked.
spot
too.
anyway.
Well
that
done,
worked.
Zergling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are they going to get back in time? No.
The production was really delayed as well for SharpenedEdge with those extra buildings being delayed by the 2 drones. Now, probes are being pulled by the ProBots also, which is very important. A 3rd Zealot on the way. This is just not working.
No, it is not. I think he had a good initial. It was too late anyway, but he had a good initial position and actually gave it up. He had the lings surrounding one of the Zealots, but then retreated.
Yeah, you just can't chase one probe with your 8 drones when
No,
you're
doesn't
going
work
for
that
this rush. Yeah, well done, SharpenedEdge, for making some Zealots and
Holding off the cheese.
probe scouting, I guess. The moral of the story is scout, and you might drag all your opponent's units away.
You can just imagine those first 2 drones sitting there juking in the ramping, like, where the hell are they? Like,
Yeah, definitely group project mentality right there.
yeah. So yeah, now we're just gonna get the accumulation up. No, 3 workers still alive. We're gonna get a slow trickle of maybe lings built as they didn't completely stop the mining on the other side to keep some, I guess, residual going, but eventually SharpenedEdge will pull across. Hopefully it doesn't decide to like expand and do a whole rigmarole. But it is basically over. Robo coming down.
Yeah, SharpenedEdge might not attack right away, but if it just builds up, it'll... Unless it crashes at this point, it should be fine. It does save that entry, which kind of just sleeping in that corner and does that.
Yeah.
Oh, it actually survives.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna die.
And just enough.
It's funny, the Overlord was revealing that sentry, so Whalemean's like, oh, I can get that.
The sentry is an odd choice here anyway. It's not using, I mean, there's nothing to use against, but it's not using any abilities or anything. So it's a bit of gas to put into something that you're not really going to get.
Whalemean starts an extractor.
Yeah,
Starts mining gas.
I don't know.
Oh, well done. SharpenedEdge shuts down the cheesy random bot 2-0.
Yep, still good, still stable. We didn't get to see any late game abilities or anything from SharpenedEdge, but trust me, it's there. We'll see it in the future. And yeah, Whalemean not quite getting the situation that it wanted, but que sera. There we go. So I think we usually cut to a break. Okay, sorry, replay first, and then we're cutting to a 5-minute break. So let's look at this eventful game. Here's the thing that happened. Yeah. Yeah, they had a chance to get in there. Had those first lings just gone through, then they could at least avoid that choke. But yeah, 3 zealots were already out. It was going one way.
Yeah, like the 2 probes really was phenomenal.
Yeah.
there by Whale, or the 2 drones, pardon me, were
Gotcha.
phenomenal by Whalemean, but
Yeah.
the rest of the rush, not so much.
Yeah, not so much. They were doing their job. You can't send the all stars ahead and then just assume the rest of the team's okay. Maybe split them up, make one the captain of the smaller squad,
Yeah.
and one go bring the 8 guys that got distracted by a probe. Yeah, that's hard to make those. It shouldn't be. It's kind of a, if you go full offense and just say, well, ignore anything that passes me, then that can sometimes backfire.
Yeah.
But so you gotta, it's hard to code in and know that balance of like how much is a reaction, how much is an underreaction. We see a lot of stuff too where it's like, okay, you don't respond to 1 probe. Do you respond to 3? And then I'm gonna do something there or whatever. But anyway, we'll see more of Whalemean in coming weeks. So yeah, hop into a break here now, I guess, and we'll come back with
Yeah, stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Xena versus.
Ooh, I didn't even get a time. I didn't even get a countdown. Woo! Well, we're back.
Oh, are we going?
It's timers.
There's a timer. It's true.
We got a brutal production team. They're just like 0. We start. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Back to the second half of day 1 of season 1 of 2025. ProBots. Whew, I almost forgot. I got all the numbers except for the actual tournament name. We're back. I'm Drek, and I'm your host, and I'm brought here on your casting desk with Endersword and Laughing Games. Boys, those games were we had like a really long start.
Yeah,
I was like, uh-oh.
Big stuff.
Yeah, we had some really long Caninana MicroMachine going toe-to-toe. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It shows that MicroMachine, though old, is not out and rusty, still able to go toe-to-toe with whomever. And then we had some cheesy I don't know. Sharkbots bots are the most fascinating bots ever, but they're such a wild card. They either do incredibly out of the world strats, or they just like boop.
Yeah.
They just like fizzle out. So I'm always, you never know what you're gonna get when you watch a Shark Nice game. What was your favorite moment from the last half?
I think to me the first kind of main push in the second game, I think just really good tank setup, really good marine, like that. Technically, that was a good part, but my favorite part was the 2 drones hanging out at the top of the rank.
Laughing Games.
I mean, game 1, like it was between Whalemean and SharpenedEdge when the robo just got unpowered. Like that was a second off. So who knows how it would have gone then?
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, with Whalemean, you never know, and with a Shark Nice bot, you never know what way it's gonna go, and I think Whalemean is no exception. Okay, so like when we see where we are in the brackets, let's get you all caught up, everybody, on what's happening. Let's take a look at this.
So yeah, those 2 were Group A, since I think we didn't really quite specify. But yeah, these first 2 matches were in Group A, so the winners will go on to face each other. SharpenedEdge will play MicroMachine in the future, but not right now. And then the 2 losers, Caninana and Newbot, Whalemean, will play in the losers. So can still get out. You have to lose twice to get knocked out. And now we're moving to Group B here on the right-hand side.
Yeah, it's a forgiving format, which is good, particularly that the bot authors will get a chance to update between their next matches, which makes it extra exciting. And then, yeah, we're just going into 2 more best of 3s. Xena versus Tyr is the first one, which is another random bot.
Yep.
Update right before the round of 8. So they're not these bots will have a chance to respond to what they see, what their opponents have done. Sharkbot, if they make it on, will be able to maybe give us more cheese, give us more brands of cheese for us to sample.
Exactly. Always interesting to see what they put in those updates. And yeah. So Xena is another one that originally actually started off very cheesy and still has that incorporated in. But Xena is now also really capable of some good macro games off of that stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Xena does have a macro build for all its random races. I'd say the Zerg is probably the strongest because I believe the authors of Xena also wrote Zoe and Evil Zoe, which were very good macro bots when they were active. So just a lot of experience from cheese to macro in Xena. And then similar to MicroMachine, it picks its builds based on win rates, and I'm pretty confident that it's got a few builds that will give TyrT a hard time.
A couple things to also note too is, and we're talking about cheesy. Zozo is initially a cheesy bot. Pro brush, if I remember, it started off as just mainly pro brushes, and it has evolved into what I would say is a very robust bot from its humble beginnings. Like sometimes you will see bots that are built with a single track and they never change. I think I'm looking at U12 Poo bot, who also does roaches, weirdly enough. Anyways, but you will get some bots that stay in a very shallow pool, but Zozo's not one of them. And then they'll be and Zozo will be up against, I would like to call, dog in a hat, old yellow Dominiondog, who I have personal love for. I chose the icon, I want to say. So
yes, that is important. The logo choice is a very important part of success in a bot. It defines the character. Yeah, very, very, very key. And Xena, definitely a good choice. I like the authors just seem to like the Z sound in general. Xena, Zoe, Evil Zoe.
Absolutely. Before we get into it, in terms of favorite for winning this half, what are you looking forward to seeing in either Xena versus Tyr or Zozo versus Dominiondog?
I think Zozo Dominiondog can go either way depending on the updates. I think Xena is a big favorite against TyrT here.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I don't know how much Tyr's kept up, but we'll see. But Xena, yeah, I feel has been one of the rapidly improving ones. So so I think there's a lot of potential there. And as much as it can be hard to code all these builds for a random bot, it's equally difficult to code against it. So that's always a factor.
Yeah, and you were talking about it, that Tyr came in a lower seed than it had done previously.
Yes,
as the other competitors have risen up. And Xena, again, it's build selection. Like Xena and Tyr have played on the ladder many, many times, and the bot author does have that data available to see what build works and to sort of select based off that if they wish. So,
and yeah, it's not a matter of Tyr's gotten worse. It's just that many bots have gotten better, and that's it. Like we have to remember that Tyr is actually a ProBots champion. Like Tyr is a
multi-time
champion. Yeah. We cannot write it off as it is a bot that has, I think, it has the most builds. I'm pretty sure it has the most builds to any bot. It used to, I can't remember, something like maybe 50 or something like that at one point. It doesn't use them all anymore, but it used to have a wide range of builds available to it. So it was very adaptable, incredibly powerful. Now we've seen a lot of Thor play from it in recent times, and drop Thors. So we're at a lot of pickups. So we'll see if that's what we're going to be seeing this time around. But I will take it away and let the casters take us into the next half. Oh, wait, before we go, don't forget, click, 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 surprise, woo! And last but not least, if you want to get yourself your own bot, in the description, there is a tutorial. Laughing Games, how long would you say it took you to get started?
Being someone that didn't even have an IDE installed, like, I'd say that it was probably like less than an hour for me to have a replay saved of my bot, at least launching properly, and then not that much further to make it a dirty rushing bot. So.
I mean, honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better testimony in that, because like you know what, you can get there's a lot of tools to get started. I would say even when we first started ProBots, it was probably really, really hard to get started to make a bot. It was like really, really tough. But the community is fantastic in terms of the frameworks. Like Laughing Games mentioned it early. Sharpie is a fantastic framework for Python. I'm an Eris guy, so Eris framework for life. So please, I feel like that's also Python. But if you do C++ or, well, not if you do Java. If you're Java, you're dirty. But you are with Ketrock.
Yeah, you better hope Ketrock late. You have your programming in Java.
But there are there's the Sharky framework, which is C#, C+. I can't remember what Sharkbot is coded in, but it's made by Shark Nice. I would say it's probably C#. Then it would probably be the next. I would say it's the next popular framework. So, and then you can definitely find some Rust stuff going on out there, and
what's the weirdest one? Someone Go exists.
Go exists, but I don't. Yeah. I don't think there's a framework for that. So if
Haskell.
You're brand new,
Xena uses Haskell.
Haskell, absolutely. So if you're new and you're maybe new to coding, Python is where you need to be, and that tutorial will get you started. Okay.
I'm gonna use COBOL.
Oh please. Oh my god. All right. To the casters. Bye.
Bye. That's the way to go. Use COBOL. Run it on a machine from 1960. It'll be fine. Something like that.
Have your bots stored on a floppy disk?
Yeah, exactly. Or just like literally a reel-to-reel tape, something like that. That's the way to run it. So yeah, we are in the second half here. Now in match 3, we get Xena versus TyrT. I think we've got stats, maybe I was told, on these guys. If not, again, I'll make some up. But Xena is the random bot, as we've said. So it's said in the past that it's fairly aggressive, but it does have some macro builds now. Even then, it tends to open a bit aggressive and then roll into it. So it does transition a little more maybe out of that, which I think is a good way if people are trying to get into coding a bot or even like playing the game. I think being aggressive and cheesy early and then kind of learning to improvise off that is kind of the way you build up to a macro game. I think very often people, like, when they play, they're like, okay, let me build whatever, no rush 20. Yeah, I want to build. That's not usually a great way to learn. It's starting simple and then kind of getting more complicated as people frustrate your simple plan. And that's kind of the way to go.
Yeah, filling in the gaps, sort of.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm ready for the next game. Of we're going into that or the stats. But
I don't know. Either way, if we load a screen. Okay, here we go. So as mentioned, Xena, random encoded in Haskell. I still think of it as one of the newer bots, but that's just compared to the ones that we've had like 14 times. Xena's been around a while now.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything for learning there, but it does select build based on win rate, which is one of its biggest strengths.
Yeah, and no third-party framework here. Again, I think it's maybe the only one using Haskell, or the only one I can remember anyway. Strategy aggressive, that sums it up well. And weak against defense.
Defense and late game air.
It doesn't.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, reasonable.
Advanced resource allocation system, making it easy to create robust and optimized builds. So a good foundation for it.
Yeah, that's often really key is like if you just try and build one way, then when you go to deviate from that, you're kind of from scratch. If you've got more of a resource management decision making style or like setup, then you can deviate depending what you see. So tier, yeah, tries to anticipate the enemy strategy and adapt to it. This is a good strategy to every game ever.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically.
Not easy to do, but
yeah,
very the bots that try and adapt based on their opponents. Like it's so much work, but
yeah,
my hat off to those that do make that endeavor. Here is weak to some types of early aggression, which is unfortunate because it's playing Xena.
And kind of the same thing, and this is why this one has been so adaptable, and you can put in builds. Again, it's got a system for the builds and task management, so things can be changed around very quickly. New builds can be programmed in. I remember times early on, Tier would literally in 1 week ask the YouTube chat, like, what should I do next week? They would suggest a build, and it would be implemented by the following week.
That's phenomenal.
So, yeah.
Here has 100,000 lines of source code. Here has 176 build, 53 are for Terran. So I guess some of those are for the Protoss variant. And it is 6 years old.
Indeed. 7 now.
7 now, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So it is, yeah. I don't know if it was in the very first season, but it was in like one of the first seasons, like second or third, and I think it won 3 within like the first 6 seasons or so. But that was as the Protoss one. It was very, very dominant as a Protoss spot in that era. Yeah, good use of a lot of things. It did one of those builds actually that it just picked up from chat was the Proxy Tempest stuff.
Oh, that's dirty.
So that was super good. Which we see less of, but I still feel like the bot meta hasn't totally solved Tempest.
No,
they're
definitely
still very
not.
difficult.
They shoot further than
Yeah.
a standard unit has vision for, which makes them very difficult to program against. And Xena is a bot that could very well go for that.
Yes, very likely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we are ready. Let's hop in and maybe see if we get a Protoss and some of that.
Yeah, Xena does like to bust out that Tempest Rush, so.
Tier.
But is now a Magic the Gathering card.
Ah.
And Xena is always Xena, warrior princess.
Okay, so we do have Xena rolling what I think is probably its strongest race as Xena's Zerg Roach Rush, which it says it's going for, is ridiculously strong. It makes great use of speed mining, having a maximized economy, and then it just floods roaches.
Yeah, and burrowed ones, like you mentioned at the top of this, almost always super cost efficient, really hard for other AI to deal with. It's just a very confusing attack priority sort of thing. Not to mention you have to keep your observers and everything in place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to depend as far as like the way tier opens up. Like if it opens like tank and walls, then keeping roaches out is possible. If not, it's going to be much more difficult. As it does go for that CC on the low ground, I'm already a little bit concerned.
Yeah, here, factory coming behind. There was kind of like a maybe I was going to wall off here sort of thing, but didn't continue with that at the top of the ramp. Yeah, I mean, a key will be detection. Is there stable detection out like a Raven at some point? But time for that still.
Yeah, this is just so scary the way Xena plays. Like, that Roach Warren's already on the way, so we can start a timer. And it's like, in 2 minutes, there's going to be like 15 roaches out or something like that. So, here's going to hopefully build a tank. Is all I'll say.
That would probably be ideal there. Kind of finishing the top of the wall there.
Yeah,
Probably
that is a good first step. Xena squeezing out 7 more 7 more drones, so it will have nice 2-base saturation before it really starts pumping those roaches. But now we see the first roach is on the way.
Pack Lab finishing up here.
Impact. And then that factory's sitting idle for now.
Yeah, not quite. And again, no starport being added either, which may be key. There is the burrow being started. So again, we've got a clock on that.
Yeah, Tyr does start up a tank. However, while tanks are good, like, it's really going to depend on the positioning. Like, is that tank on the high ground or the low ground and unsieged? That kind of thing. Because, like, in order to defend this, Tyr is going to need to have some very, very good positioning.
Yeah, you really got to either stay up, maybe lift that natural, kind of try and stabilize on the high ground, or go very far out and try and get them to burrow or stop, like slow them down on the way up while you build up a little bit more.
Yeah, this is like, I'm not joking when I say that this is like the strongest possible cheese a bot has, I think.
Yeah.
Xena's 84 supply, 4.5 minutes into the game. It's moving out. Yeah. It's got just a daunting amount of roaches for Tyr to try and take on. Like, this is
army supply 56.
Yeah, this is pretty much peak efficiency by Xena. The tank is in a good defensive position, but it's only got 5 Marines.
Liberator won't be there yet.
Okay, so that's a good start, but then the scan is almost counteracted because it does just have the roaches all unburrowed and dive on the tank. I mean, they do lots of damage, but there's another scan, and there's the roaches getting on top of the second tank, and Tyr is in a world of trouble.
Yeah, the only hope here, somehow get the Liberator sieged up at the ramp and wall off.
Yeah, okay, one Marine's going to try and be a hero.
So he's gonna try and do exactly
Hey,
that.
there you go.
Yeah. So now, if the Liberator doesn't randomly unsiege, which they do.
They do, yeah. If Tyr wants to use that for something else, okay, does it set up on the ramp?
Do we get the setup? Yeah, good setup. It's fine.
Yeah, that is actually a really great position there. Yeah. Tank and Liberator on the high ground.
Yeah, so damage not gigantic. Not too many things dead. We're still way behind in supply.
Yeah, look at the supply is just comical.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we got kind of the elements that we need.
Oh, so many roaches.
Yeah.
Xena is going to be maxed out in like 2 minutes, and that's when I think it goes for its second attack usually, once it hits max. So Tyr better have a lot of siege tanks out.
Yeah, now throwing Lings into the mix here, researching.
Okay.
And expanding too. So we'll kind of roll into potentially a later game, not just all inning on this, but yeah, the armies for he could just go again now and it'd be fine. Even through what is clearly a meat grinder, of a ramp.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it doesn't matter.
I mean, it's one of those things with Xena games. Generally, the longer the game goes on, the worse it gets for Xena. Just because it is a more aggressive bot. We do have crazy creep spread from Xena, though, as it is covering the map. It will lose a few overlords, or a couple overlords here, which may actually slow it down a bit, which is quite significant. Now a queen is coming to the front lines. Xena's pumping out some more drones.
Yeah.
Here does have 3 tanks out.
If he had gotten that second one too, there's a minor supply block here. Would have actually been a fairly deep one. There's just now another. Actually, no, that's just now another overlord coming. Pretty much supply block there. 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was really nice. 4th year. Now, it will still have to contend with a map absolutely covered in Zerg creep.
Yeah.
But there is a world in which Xena attacks on into these tanks that Tyr is massing. Tyr is also a bot that, like, will sit back until it hits 200 supply. So if it gets up to, like, a hefty supply count with siege tanks, it may be in a good spot, but oh, it's unsieging, and that makes me nervous.
I think it wants a third, but probably this one that is now turning creep.
Oh, and there's that scary roach click. Xena's moving forward. It does have no answer to the Liberators, though, which makes me wonder if that's why Xena's, like, transitioning here and not going for a round 2 attack.
Yeah, it could be. Adding on the Hydras.
Okay, Tyr is set up to defend that 3rd base nicely, but not to defend the natural any longer. The Liberators do come on in. Roaches are coming up that ramp. Tyr sees this. The Marines stem. The tanks are sieging on the high ground. And that's a very nice choke point for the Terran, but if it runs down, it might become an inverse choke point. Yeah, what a trade from here, as the tanks and Liberators did get lots of shots off. The bio with the 1-1 upgrades did quite well. Xena never started any upgrades for itself. We're also seeing nice grouping with that Raven, helping clear up some of the creep. Like, I thought Tyr was just gonna die, and this was gonna be like, okay, GG next. But...
Oh no, I think again it's Xena's decision to leave him alive, because, yeah, there was at least a 3 or 4 minute window that it was over.
Yeah. What?
Wait.
I'm guessing it was the Liberator that is what gave Xena pause.
It's often hard to make the decision too, and it depends how the units are coded and things, but any individual unit knows that it's going to die if it does something.
Yeah.
It's hard to then say, but there's 80 of us, it's fine if you die.
Oh, it's very difficult.
Very difficult.
Yeah, because, I mean, say Xena hadn't made that programming decision, we could have a game where roaches are just running up a ramp into a Liberator nonstop and dying.
Exactly.
So you have to make those tough calls as a bot author. And this just means we're getting spoiled, because we will have that rare Xena macro going up against Spear.
And supplies are now completely even out. Army supply almost totally even. Like you said, the upgrade advantage very much in Tyr's favor right now, although on the way.
Yeah. Now, I think the big question here is going to be on fungal growth, as there is infestors out for Xena. The Marines are stimming towards here. Liberator's getting set up. That is a nice fungal, but not perfect. And there's a great follow-up, catching a lot of this pile. Xena's going to pull the trigger. The tanks are not sieged yet. They're only sieging now. Liberators are set up. Turrets getting thrown down. Xena does back off.
Base does have, but yeah, good little fight to get some of the kind of got behind the Liberators on that attack, but yeah, still pretty even.
Okay, tanks unsieged again. They do get pounced on, but Liberators still being very formidable threats. Hydras are focusing down the tanks instead of the Liberators, but in the end, Tyr does get reset. And looks like it elects to go on home.
felt like at one point Tyr was cleaning up some of the creep. There's no evidence of that.
No, Xena's creep spread is so ridiculously
Yeah.
good. I think it's probably got the best creep spread. It uses some trick. I can't recall what it is that it uses, but it might be overlords or something.
I think that's why you saw those overlords at the front of the creep. It spread. Yeah, it's doing something. It uses it for vision.
Oh man. Counterattack by Xena, very decisive as it comes on in. The Liberator is present, but there's enough anti-air in the form of the Hydras if they actually target down the Liberator, but Xena seems averse to targeting down this Liberator, so it does get more damage done than it should. And will it save the bacon of Fear?
So for now, it looked like they really wanted to skirt the edges, but looking at the terrain, there's no room. It wanted to go around it, but it couldn't.
Yeah, definitely prioritizing getting out of that circle instead of just killing the Liberator, which again is something that's very difficult to make that decision as a bot author for how your unit should handle something like
Yeah,
that.
when do you dive on a key target? Is worth more than you are. And when do you recognize it's really low?
Yeah.
That one does go down. Go away. Go. A little bit of a whip.
Yeah, I believe an Infestor did get killed off there, but here is trying to hold on to this fourth base that it expanded to, and that is leaving it quite exposed as Xena surges forward once again. Terran bot just can't keep up with this insane Zerg production. I don't think there's a hero Liberator this time around as Xena pushes on in.
Does not look like it, and the FCVs that have been doing a good job kind of body blocking, starting to fall a little too quick.
Yeah, and I think Xena's got this one much later than they originally thought, but it does end up taking it.
Should have done it, not much quicker, but we've got the return to the 10-to-1 army supply. At least.
Yeah.
Here, though, showing like constantly in this game, positioning absolutely like amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like it understood every part of the terrain. The only part where it got pulled a little out of position when it moved over to that third and kind of got facing the wrong way. But then as soon as the army came in, immediately adjusted. When the tanks started swinging back in, I thought they were going to siege too early in kind of the corridor between the two bases. They didn't. They came all the way over and sieged up at the top of the ramp again. So really, really good potential there, but Xena just overwhelming.
Yeah, really, really well done by Xena, having that good macro to fall back on. It was dicey, though. Here had a nice push. I honestly think the only thing that I can really point at here that could do with improving maybe is the way that it moved its tanks forward. Like, there was a lot of time in which the tanks were unsieged when they should have, say, leapfrogged.
Yeah, okay. Agree. Yeah, there was one little moment that it got unsieged. Kind of overrun.
Yeah.
Lift was definitely key there.
Yeah, definitely. There's this crazy fight. You're gonna drop like 20 supply there, or 20 plus supply there.
Yeah, so see this flank on the side?
Yeah.
That was a real big key to this. Means up to 3 tanks with OTAT.
Yeah, and then there's like tanks at the back not speeded up. Yeah, I think there's a world in which if we replay that and Tyr has a bit better tank micro, or tank decision making, then it could potentially take that fight. GG.
There we go. So again, we may get a totally different game coming up in number 2, as we may get a different race. Like you said, I do agree that like the burrowed roach, like blood, is almost like super hard to stop. Like if you execute that properly, it is probably the strongest thing out there. So will we get Zerg again? Will we get something else? Let's find out. Will the map be entirely creep?
Let's roll that 3-sided dice.
Yeah. All right, we got the countdown up. Okay, yeah, on Acropolis next. The center of this may come into play. It's often, again, race dependent, but bots are one of those things where the shape of the map is so important.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah,
because just the way they behave, where that first engagement point is there a choke? Are you on level territory? Is it up a ramp? Which direction are you expanding to your third? It makes a bigger difference, I think, than it does in human games, just because it's kind of automated. They tend to have not always a one size fits all. Some do obviously code in the differences in the maps, but you could run the exact same two builds against each other and get a totally different result on a different map.
yeah. Where the like where the code is static in a lot of cases for the bots, the maps are the variable.
Yep.
So it really changes
Very true.
things up.
All right, I think we're ready to hop in.
Yeah, let's
go.
see it.
All right.
Oh no.
Xena. Tyr.
So yeah, this map, given that we are going to get the same race and potentially the same sort of thing happening, the fact that the entrance into the natural is on flat ground does make a really big difference. It's still quite choked off though.
Yeah, it that could potentially still be good enough for tier, depending on like how the bot authors program. There is the further out ramp as well, which can potentially be a choke point. I don't know if tier will have time to get established in that location prior to Xena rolling on up with roaches.
Yeah, it's tough.
This will be a good test, whether that previous game was like a one-off because of the crazy ramp on Abyssal Reef, or whether tier can potentially give us a second macro game.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's maybe about getting a tank set up on like the inside track so that it's covering the large ramp as well.
Yeah.
And then again, the way that the Liberator set up, it was so perfectly covering. It has to be angled in just the right way to get the same result if we get the same sort of thing. Tier, though, of course, may deviate its own build because, of course, it just lost. So it's quite possible that it just doesn't even build anything similar to that.
Yeah, it does seem like it's going for a similar build, though.
Yeah.
So far, anyway.
Yeah.
And that is how I generally think of tier, like a straightforward, just macro bot these days.
Yeah, generally it is a bit of a strength of it. Play into that late stuff. A lot of its strategies lately have geared towards things like doors, like get late game units, or even for a while it was doing Mass Ghost against
yeah.
Zerg. Yeah, and that was quite effective against what a lot of people were doing. But you got to get
Overlord gets shot a little bit. Losing that would be a big blow for Xena. However, it does turn around. We've got an idle SCV at the natural base of tier. That's not ideal.
Tech Lab again. Yeah, that is
Every little bit matters when you're...
yeah. Trying to squeeze this out.
Yeah, so that's an unfortunate bug. May get fixed if it ever gets selected to build
Fair
something.
enough.
Oh, there we go. It was waiting for the orbital to finish. It looked like
Yes, just it's supervised. Yeah, that would be a weird. I wonder if it's like start a. Well, it doesn't start the building though, but yeah, that they would somehow be linked. Yeah, out. The row has started. a decent amount.
Yeah, the Liberator saved Tyr's bacon last game, so it's very important that it gets one out this game. The Observer pointing out there is lots of scan energy saved by Tyr, which is a design choice that you have to make as a Terran bot author, whether you want to always be dropping mules and potentially die to DTs, or save your scans for things like roaches. And
I'm not sure the rush time on this map. I don't think it's longer. No.
yeah, I think it's pretty similar, I imagine. Does Tyr fire up that Liberator? It's money just dropped. Yes, we do have a Liberator on the way. That tank could also potentially get a shot on Xena as it moves on in earlier.
Yeah.
As if it depends if it goes on the left or the right of that ram. And it does immediately burrow. There's the scan that triggers the unburrow on those winches. So the big dive forward SCV is pulling into the tank, or too late. Second tank comes on down, starts sieging, and is going to have a bad time. Dies before it gets the shot off. Xena once again cuts the natural up here, and some deja vu. The Liberator is moments away from finishing. The command center's not lifting.
This is the problem. It was building an SCV way longer.
Yeah.
Waited until it was done. Here comes the Liberator. We'll back up here now.
Oh, that command center needs to be repaired. SCVs
Yeah.
are going to the low ground. Does land. Tell me there's a repair. There's the repair.
Very crucial, but that does suck up extra minerals at the time. You don't want to do that.
It does, yeah. And we're just having a rehash.
Yeah, I was worried there. It was one volley away from death, and it lifted just before the burn last time. But yeah, it just was like, no, I just got to get this one last SCV out so that it can die.
There's Xena setting up its overlords very beautifully, so they can basically start dropping creep,
Yeah.
and then the creep will be able to maximize its spread. That is how Xena spreads its creep so quickly.
Little lip here. I think that's a pretty good position. That should be the angle they come up.
Yeah, unless Xena decides to like attack the future third base of Tyr, like it'll depend if Tyr goes right or goes down with its expo.
That's spread of overload. Kind of cool. It's like they're all moving in unison.
It's very cinematic and ominous.
Yeah.
Black clouds approaching the base of Tyr.
It reminds me of the movie Independence Day, where the aliens put like one ship over every major city.
That was the slowest alien invasion ever in Independence Day.
It's just very confident invasion.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know we had computer viruses. They never could have anticipated that. I'm trying to think the exact timing of when he pushed out again. It was quite a while. It was good establishment. Here was just getting a third base out. This actually basically happened last time too, but
Yeah.
this time gets both overlords instead of just one.
That is nice. And yeah, it is so interesting because I've definitely seen games where Xena just goes and kills its opponent with this roach rush. It's very funny how one Liberator gives us this macro game though.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, and here's the Hydra Den, which is obviously in response to
Yeah. Hopefully Xena, or pardon me, hopefully Tyr does decide to expand towards the north base, as that other base is now covered in creep. And it better hurry up, as it's going to have the north base.
this one's in a much more exposed position, though, if he does a similar thing to moving the army. Although this
Yeah.
is decent, trying to kind of block here. Last time what he did was move towards the base, but it was still up a uniform ramp, so it was fine to move back. But yeah, you can't really go anywhere yet. If not,
No. And I mean, it really does come down to the positioning in this game, because with all these tanks and liberators, Caesar has an army that can take on Roach Hydra.
Yeah.
It's just got to have its tank siege before any fight, and now we are going to see that the biostimming forward to buffer for the tanks. Liberator's getting set up. Xena nopes on out of there once more.
Will it read? Yeah, there we go.
But the tanks missing shots again, though.
That wasn't the same sort of equalizer it was. Xena got over there with about 40 supply less lost than in that situation.
Okay, now here does still have this really nice choke trying to hold a beautiful scan again. Revealing these roaches, letting those tanks fire at their max distance. That was a good pickoff. Like, if Tyr waits till it hits 200 supply before moving out, I think that's the best case scenario here.
Yeah, I think you're right. And again, it was it had such a huge force when it did go in really good positioning. It was just catching a tank now and then go to place.
Okay, Xena will be the aggressor once more, though, as Lings run on into tanks. This is what Tyr wants. So Xena is feeding on in, but now Tyr's feeling bold, like it can chase this. A bit risky.
Yeah, I think in a weird way, because Xena lost less in this re-engagement, it was willing to attack.
Good fungal growth. Second fungal. And heal up these Marines potentially. It's very important that these tanks don't unsiege and then Xena engages.
So army supplies have equalized again.
Yeah, and here fighting without its buffer for this, well, without the tanks to support those Marines, loses lots of units. Does have this nice high ground position as it pushes on in though. And Xena can't really engage into this. The tanks need to gun up. They're a little late once again. As Xena surges forward on top of the tanks. Liberators are still in a nice position. There's one tank on the high ground. But again, Tyr gave Xena an opportunity to clear out a lot of units.
Definitely, we'll see if the pressure stays on. There's not really enough hydrogen just to charge in as the liberator. They're right on top of it.
Yeah. Liberators zoning out these units. The one tank that was there does just perish. And the Liberators do get taken out this time, it seems. Another one comes on up too, somewhere in the back as well. Tyr has a lot of units at home because of this one Zergling.
Yeah. The question will be like, with this expansion, we've got some bases on that side. Tyr kind of does have to get something done here.
It does, yeah. I'm not sure that Tyr ever builds like a 4th or a 5th base either, as it is. Yeah, even if it did, it wouldn't be able to put it anywhere. Now Tyr is pushing on in. There's lots of Marines present. They do have 2-2 upgrades against the 1-1 of Xena, and Xena is not confident enough to take this engagement, even thinking about pulling the drones. The tank is in the back shelling away, and this is quite a nice fight for the Terran.
I'm getting ahead way here now, so put it back into the tank. Keep the fungal that so many medevacs.
Yeah.
There's another big one. He's just out healing.
Yeah, and this could be a bad spiral for Xena as it loses mining, so it's not going to be able to replace many of these units. And Tyr is just pushing on in, going for the throat. Xena does decide to take this fight. Those wings are so injured, so grouped up. Not sure there's any more infestors on hand for Xena, though. Yeah, and here just making making great use of the map positioning with its tanks, with its liberators, and Xena is afraid to take the engagement, and it's being punished for it, just bleeding off units. There's a fungal from the low ground. Lings and Hydras do get a wraparound on some of this.
Yeah, that's just reinforcement coming from the other bases. Wait.
Yeah, Infestor goes down thanks to the protection of that Raven. The Raven being grouped up with the Caninana is so big against the third boss. And that forward means that here has tied it up, and we've got a series.
Again, this is kind of what we were talking about. Different, same exact thing. Different map, surfaces of engagement. Very, very different result.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And a good thing Tyr was able to get that win, as it doesn't ever expand past 3 bases, I don't think. So, it's a very confident bot with its bio timings. And yeah, even taking a map off Xena, I'll say, is quite an achievement from Tyr here.
Bouncing around looking for buildings. One base remains.
Xena's building 2 more, though.
Yeah.
Whack-a-mole begins.
In early seasons, we definitely had
Guru gameplay. Oh my gosh, that was a callback.
we would have lots of early seasons that kind of like only target was the main base.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would just go chill there and never.
Oh, that's something I program in my bot. One of the first things, like, oh, I
Yeah.
better add some cleanup behavior.
Yeah. Indeed. So yep, there we go. 1-1, and going on to the third map, Automaton. Now again, we saw 2 at the same race, but it's random. We're very likely to get a different setup coming out in the next game. But yeah, Tyr showing kind of how close it was positionally, of like you can get that strong push, and if it's got a good spot, good positioning, then yeah, it just, snowballs.
Now, a part of me wants Xena to roll Zerg again, just
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the tiebreaker,
Yeah,
but a part of me really doesn't want it to.
yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think the differences potentially on this coming map. The frustrating part for Xena, again, is I think it's just the fear of the Liberator, like you said, but it's an irrational fear. It should just ignore that and go anyway. It's got enough stuff that it should do it. So, up to the replay here.
Okay, there's that concave from Xena.
Yeah, this was almost a good counter cleanup, but it wasn't quite enough.
Was it not attacking?
It wasn't attacking the game. It was like attacking everything else.
Nice fungal usage from Xena, but... Okay, I'm ready for the next game.
Me as well. And yeah, I agree. The decider on that would be cool, but I'll be happy with whatever happens, I guess.
Yeah, I
don't
kind
know.
of want to see TVP. I think that would be a fun one.
Yeah. That is probably better. Yeah, TVT would probably be the least interesting to me.
Yeah, like
so one
I'm
of the-
thinking it like Xena's Terran likes to proxy Marauder, its Protoss likes to proxy Stalker or Tempest Rush.
Yeah.
So there's a few ways
Tempest
this
Rush
could
would
go.
be fun. I want the Tempest Rush. That'd be good. I want a mothership. Something like that. There was one bot for a while that would crash whenever a mothership came out.
Oh, that's funny.
Something about the instant cloaking of units just crashed.
Yeah, I guess just trying to track them or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Okay, I think we are ready to hop in to our third match.
Okay.
Xena. Tiered.
Here is SCV scouting.
Yeah.
So is Xena from the looks of it.
Just PvT.
Yeah, I like what Xena does as far as this build goes, because it justifies my entire logic of my crappy bot. Because Xena basically either has 2 or 3 variations of this build, but the only variation is the amount of supply it attacks. So it'll either attack, like it's got a variation that I know is that's like 30 supply or something. This is the 60 supply, so it'll build up a bigger army. Because, again, if you play a bunch of games against an opponent bot, you can sort of just build the data and see what timing attack works based on which amount of supply should I go with. So I really like how Xena has multiple versions of this same build.
Yeah, that is good. I think, again, that's also a tip for people playing, is like, look at your replays and look for a time when you're like, well, I could have killed him here, I just didn't. And kind of learn where that sort of timing and anti-bot in particular, tightly try and hit those spots.
Yeah, we do have a variation from tier. Upon seeing that it is a TVT matchup, it doesn't go for as quick of an expo. It just goes for a sort of 1 base 2-1. I'm not going to say 2-1-1 because it is yet to build a starport, but I imagine we'll see that at some point.
You're up, Xena. You're a very low APM bot sometimes. Looking downright human.
Xena does have a economic lead, as it did go for that quicker expo than tier, which again could have bigger results depending on the timing attack that it goes for.
Yeah, it's kind of chilling in front of the bunker here.
Man, but Automaton's got to be like the biggest offender as far as maps go that mess with bots, just because of that giant cliff.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen bots run their army when the opponent bot has just got a bunch of units on the high ground, and they just run right on by. So we'll see if that happens here with Xena potentially attacking tier.
Yeah, it is kind of a unique shape.
Here runs a random Whalemean out on the map, parking at the third base of Xena. However, Xena has no intention of building a third base, I believe, so far.
So we just ran this middle. There's a lot of things I think that are still a tiny bit underexplored in the bot game, and I think Whalemeans and burrowed banelings and things like that are one.
Oh, I've got, well then you'll be happy to hear that there is a newer bot on the ladder called Antibot.
Oh yeah, we've seen, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It's been
not-
in this
not that
tournament.
new,
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
It does have a mass Widowmine build. But
Yeah, I think we have seen that before against a bot named Spud. It did it too, but yeah, it showed a lot of potential. I think that was the one case I've seen. There.
Okay, I shouldn't say any bots are newer about it. It's been around since 2019.
Yeah, but I think that strategy I've only seen once. But yeah, it was. See that?
Okay, we can keep tabs on this game by looking at Xena's supply, because it literally told us at the start of the game what supply it's going to attack with. And currently it's at 43. Tyr, though, is doing a fairly good job of keeping pace. The tanks, again, are going to be so important for Tyr, but if it's just sitting on defending its natural with multiple tanks set up, it will absolutely gobble up this bio of Xena. So again, it's going to be like, are the tanks sieged? Aren't they sieged?
We're approaching that magic number now. 56. A few more should do it.
Yeah, Xena's combat shield is quite late here.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if it will wait for that or not. Or if it'll just go.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at 66 now and no sign of movement yet, so you might be right that it's trying to line up for that timing instead.
Okay, Tyr has a third command center on the way. I mean, it's one of those things against Xena. Expanding is such risky business, because if Tyr moves its army to secure that third base, that could very well be its undoing, potentially. Xena is close to having combat shield now, so it may start moving out sometime soon.
Yeah, if it left now, it would be done basically when it gets there. It just doesn't like these widow mines, whether it wants to use the spot or not.
Oh, there we go. The bio ball is moving.
And how will this line up? It'll be before that expansion gets, floating or into space.
I really have no idea either. That is, I guess, just making space for the tank.
Yeah, I think so.
And here we go. Xena is moving on in. Tyr is presently sieged in its natural. That third command center is about to finish up, though. If that CC lifts off and Tyr says, this is the new location for me to defend, it could unsiege. But so far, things are looking good as Xena moves forward into all these tanks of Tyr, and it quickly changes its mind.
Can't scroll back there, instantly. But
Yeah,
a good concave as these come out way too far.
Beautiful concave. The tanks are still sieged in the back, so they will start to delete this bio that moves forward. But this turns a great trade for Tyr into not such a good one. And there is more bio rallying across the map. Oh no, Tyr just having its Marines drop the ball and take the bait.
And everyone's got their own personalized medevac at this point. Tyr.
And
Tank on the high ground. Yeah, just the understanding of not going out that far.
yeah, the leash range of Tyr a little bit too small. And now Xena will just trade back and forth endlessly. It's a bit heartbreaking for the old boss.
Yeah, basically had everything you need. Had everything you need set up the way you needed it. And not sticking.
Yeah, that's why programming bots is indeed very difficult. You can do certain things perfectly right, and then just one little thing undoes it. And GG.
There we go. So yeah, Xena will go on to the winners match. Tyr will still have another chance in the losers against whoever loses our following one. But yeah, pretty good display there, and a lot of things that could be a very small change could make a very big difference in that sort of thing. Imagine that matchup with a ramp instead, then that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, the open space, very wide open space too, allowing just this ridiculous concave, making a big difference there.
Okay, so I guess we'll be getting ready for our next match soon, which is going to be Dominiondog and Zozo. I imagine we'll probably have a replay or
Yeah, I'd imagine. We'll stall to give them a second to load it. Yeah. Yes, no, maybe. Oh, we'll pass. Okay. So yeah, Dominiondog. Yeah, like Draken said, one of his favorites. Zozo started off as a it was just a pure pro brush bot, then transitioned to a zealot rush bot, much more advanced, and now kind of has a little more play to it. Dominiondog is just a pretty stable, good Terran bot. A lot of tends to be one main build, just kind of a flexible, stable build, but it is just good control, good decision making, things like that.
Yeah, Dominiondog, like around the holidays last year, it did have like an incredible rise on the ladder. I think hitting like top 2 or something,
Yeah.
because like it did some incredible Reaper micro and then basically just mass expanding behind it to overwhelm its opponents. And here we see the 2 bot cards.
So Dominion is a Java bot, and yeah, so it says this bot uses only one build, although I think that's a deceptive thing to say. Always starts with a depot scout, and next, everything happening from there. I think it's that part that is undersold with the only one build. The reacting to everything really makes it multiple builds. New strategy is new and untested. Probably not true by now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if this text is all new or not.
Yeah. And when reacting to in-games events, it chooses a strategy and forward parameters from previously executed build. So again, yeah, it says one build, but really it's a bunch of different behaviors that it then iterates on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just one thing.
And yeah, Dominiondog has like some of the best reactive play I think I've seen.
Yeah.
Like whether it be dealing with Tempest and it goes into Vikings, or whether it be getting proxied, like it's had some phenomenal responses to like proxy stalkers, in which it just spams like marauders. So it's very impressive. Now we've got Zozo, self-admitting cheeser.
Yeah, I mean, even its portrait is just yeah, probes killing things. Yeah, turtles doesn't quite work.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and that's probably about it.
Special.
Special. And yeah, I do find this interesting. It was meant to be just a training partner to see if it could defend against pro brushes, but then the pro brush bot ended up being really good, so they went ahead with that.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that Ketrock pointed out to me, just how good the probe micro of Zozo is. Like, if it ever needs to pull workers into a fight, those workers are making a difference.
Yeah.
As the worker micro is still phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, makes really, really good use of the shield regen on probes, individually pulling back, and then as soon as the shield regen kicks back in, bringing it back towards the fight. Yeah, just really, really well controlled. Also good target selection too. If it gets up there and sees like buildings and a worker and whatever, it's choosing really good things to attack. So we are starting things off on Interloper, and I think we are ready to get into our last match of the night.
Dominiondog. Dominiondog. Dominiondog.
Every game though, so
And we're blocking the wall off. And
TV is being pulled, and this has interrupted the scout to see the gateways, which is a big deal.
now the barracks was built way back, not forward here. A bit out of the way, going for a second
Protoss.
pylon
Okay,
here.
so Dominiondog has seen it.
And identified it.
Yeah, now it is going to have to make this defense with a lot less mining time due to these pylons it's been attacking with SCVs. And the best way to deal with a Zealot Rush is a wall, which we do not have from Dominiondog.
We also don't have like a marine started to tell that would be a big
Yeah,
price of the mining time
that's
you
also a problem.
yeah, like you said, the minerals just weren't there because of all these pull-offs.
Yeah, now there is a lot of potential in this wide open base for SCV Micro as the Zealots begin chasing them. Injured SCVs pulling away. One is in the mineral line though, so some SCVs are going to have to lay down their lives in order to deal with this Zealot. Problem is though, even if the Zealot goes down, there is plenty more where that came from.
They'll come in faster than you can kill them. The marine there will eventually take it out. So many of these almost dead though. Yeah, more and more. The gate already.
Yeah, and I don't think a second Marine was ever built, was it?
It doesn't have the minerals. Yeah. Yeah. Prioritize the SCV first. There, I mean, really needed that to not only be Marines quickly, but like 2 more barracks. But yeah.
Yeah, you just need... I mean, Zozo's just blocking of the wall there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
there's no way to do it. He wasn't even. It didn't look like he was ever going to build in that position anyway. But yeah, the fact whether he was going to do it or not, the pylons drawing that much attention was huge. And yeah, it's just too. I learned one of the things with bots because of how careful they are. Even if you've got the stuff to defend, if someone's strategy is based on snowballing and yours is based on efficiently defending, very often it just means you don't kill the things fast enough.
Yeah.
Prevent the snowball because you spend so much time running back your Marines, pulling back things. You don't it's hard to make that judgment call. When do I need to just clear so that I can, basically stop this from snowballing? But even if that often happens with adepts and stuff too, that they chase things, they kind of run away from them, whatever, but then it's not clearing them out quickly enough. And Zealots are pretty bad for that too.
Yeah, I do wonder. A part of me does wonder whether, say, like, if Dominiondog does happen to see those gateways sooner, like, because that SCV scout did get distracted by the pylon, maybe there's a world in which the map's different and it sees it a bit sooner and does something different, but I'm not sure. So.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I think its response, having seen it and identified it, it didn't like build a bunker. It didn't like it
Well, it
didn't
just had
do
no
I
money.
think enough. Yeah, it didn't have enough. Yeah.
And,
So
yeah. All
see what
right.
it does. Zozo with the good cheeses. That's the idea. Let's hop into game number 2, maybe our last of the night.
Dominiondog. Zozo.
way to
Um,
defend a probe rep.
Yeah, it looked like it was going okay, but that can be deceptive because you can do
Mhm.
the shield regen thing all the way home.
Yeah.
And then you can just return to mining. And his stuff is on the wrong side. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that is 1-1. The score there is reflected wrong. But, yeah, we'll go to a game 3 on Abyssal Reef. But interesting that Zozo also just chose to deviate after the first one worked perfectly well. But it does have both of these builds.
Yeah, I guess the bot off just didn't want to put all their eggs in one basket in
Yeah.
case that did fail. So
Yeah, there may be some preemptive defense to it, and you're better off changing.
I'm wondering if we'll get a standard game now from Zozo for game number 3. That seems logical.
Possible. Certainly possible. Although it could just be a return to the Zealot flower.
It could be.
Yeah. It's hard to beat. Hard to beat. And then is Dominiondog going to potentially kick into anything preemptive? Because again, it's like you said, it's trying to scout. Is it going to, do anything like that? I don't think so, though.
I don't think so
Yeah.
either. The description says all I do is scout
yeah.
and react, so
Yeah.
we'll believe it until it
Yeah.
proves us otherwise.
For sure. The thing there, like, so decent, like SCV control, and it's hard to tell how that actually was going to go because I think the longer your kite back, the more that's potentially in Zozo's favor. But I'm a little concerned that even it's scouting and identifying what the right thing is, I don't feel what it then did was correct. And it's a matter of timing. How quickly do you know? But yeah, if you're gonna respond to something, is what your response is going to win?
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're ready for.
Dominiondog.
Well, that seems wrong.
Oh, they didn't fix the mining bug, eh?
Hmm.
I was going to talk about this because I thought it was. Sorry.
Zozo.
Yeah, so this might explain then, if this has been happening, why Dominiondog seems to be shorter on, even with like the pull-offs, it seems to have too few minerals. What it,
Yeah, and that is something that I actually kind of started casting fewer Dominiondog games because of this bug, because it just triples it on certain maps.
a lot of pylons here, they're being overwhelmed enough.
Yeah, there is a rack still on the way.
It's gonna be a matter though of like, mineral income says 0. There's a limit. You got to balance it. 0 income is not enough.
No, it doesn't have the minerals to create a marine, which it so desperately needs. And it's not going back to mining. It's literally just pulling the SCVs. A few are trying to mine. It's got...
This guy. This is the miner.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, fortunately that gateway is
out
out
of
of
range.
range. Yeah. No zealots on the way. There is another SCV being built. That's the problem. Dominiondog does prioritize more workers instead of marines. When you're defending a cheese is not really what you want.
Starting to get a probe or 2 here, but there's 3 out, so it's going to be hard to clear them out faster.
Yeah.
Than
Only 3 SCVs are attacking that because the one doesn't have the surface area, so that pylon will finish and allow that gateway to potentially complete and build a zealot.
made another SCV too.
Yeah, this is just not ideal from Dominiondog. the SCV not attacking that pylon is such a big deal because now the Zealot is out, and this just got a whole lot more complicated.
Yeah, single Zealot.
Build a Marine, please, not a refinery.
No. Need that gas, man.
Oh, that is just painful. I think Dominiondog did a good job pulling the SCVs initially, but then not building a Marine is kind of a fatal flaw. And Zozo's just so persistent with building new pylons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such an investment, but yeah, now we got Zealot right there.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, again, kind of what I was saying going into this, of like, you recognize if it's just not the right response.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see it, you start doing the right thing, but then the other, that's not it.
Yeah, I think like a cheese check for Dominiondog. Well, it obviously does have a cheese check, but just to prioritize Marines over SCVs when you're being cheesed would be a great pivot, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to fall into a death loop by building just Marines, but make it be like, hey, let's build 3 Marines before we build any more workers or something like that, or 1 for 1, something to prevent that. Good cleanup by Zozo.
Mm-hmm.
GG.
There we go. So 3 different cheeses. That one was very similar to the first cheese, but just more in your face,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, the pylon overload, but it can work. And things like that can be very baity to other bots of like, I know that you want to kill this pylon, but if I make like 8 of them, I know you're just going to keep doing it, and eventually you're going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the big things.
I mean, I think if Dominiondog builds 1 Marine, it wins that game.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. There was one point it had them all dead. Like it was starting a fresh pylon with no others in production. If a Marine popped out at that moment, that's game.
Yeah.
And that's right around when it would have. So, yeah. I also think Zozo could improve that a bit too. Of it was never making use of spatial stuff. It was just putting all the pylons spread out. You could put one of the gateways near the edge, then put a pylon behind it. You could do a lot of things that cut down the surface area. To keep a lot of those.
Also, that pylon that was finished that wasn't in range of the one gateway.
Exactly.
Some improvement could be done on both sides, but well done to Zozo, showing us you can cheese your way to a victory. And
Indeed.
that is it for the games, which I guess means, I don't know if we're going to have a look at the brackets or...
All right. We're going to get Draken. Fine. So yeah, I guess just to project the future. So the next weeks will be Group C and D, which we will do the initial matches there. Then we will return to the winners matches.
All right. Woo. I'm back. And so, man, rest in pieces. That game. I looked away for once and then I was like, oh, where'd he go?
Yeah.
It's over. So Dominiondog, sometimes life is rough. But that's just how it crumbles here on ProBots. I was telling the guys back there that week 1 can be a mixed bag. Usually they're really fast. They're really fast nights because week 1 has 1 versus 15 and exercise in terms of you're gonna get maybe a little bit of a I think it says the credibility of quality of the ProBots that you're gonna get some high level plays happening right here on the first week. Really impressive long games with a couple of pieces just sprinkled in there. The coveted ace match, which is usually rare. Ace match quite rare in week 1, and so as much as this one was like an interesting, different type of ace, we still got a good job. So we'll get to wrapping up our show. What was your favorite match of the night, Laughing Games? You know what? You're here on the ProBots. Is it a little bit different? Are they playing a little bit different than what you see on your cast?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Except for Dominiondog.
except for Dominiondog, unfortunately. So I do hope we eventually get that mining bug patch, because it does rob Dominiondog of its potential, but the bot authors aren't currently working on their bot, so they didn't want to fix it just to have it be higher on the ladder, but then still not receiving updates, which is understandable. So as far as my favorite match of the night goes, it would either be, well, I'll say series. It was either MicroMachine Caninana or Xena Tier, because the dynamics in Xena Tier were very, very interesting as far as just like the builds being decided, how the maps affected the games. Yeah.
Endosword?
Yeah, I kind of would lean the same way. I think Xena Tier was pretty interesting. I think whenever you get that, like, run it back, same thing, basically 3 times, but then you get different results. I think analyzing like what causes those differences is pretty interesting. So yeah.
All right. So why don't we take a look at what we saw tonight in terms of brackets? Let's take a look at how it all went down. So, we don't have anyone down the lower bracket, but I'm sure they'll get fixed soon. So we saw MicroMachine versus Caninana, and SharpenedEdge versus Newbot, which is actually Whalemean, and mean as in like cruel, and not like
not the statistical average of it. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
With a 2-0 and then 2-0. So we went like pretty standard day one ProBot 2-0 2-0s. And then we fell over into the Xena versus Tier, where we saw 2-1. Where I'll be honest, I thought it was going to go differently. I really did think there were times I thought Tier was just going to get rolled over, and didn't go as I initially thought.
Oh, me as well.
Yeah. Especially in the first and second game.
Yeah, I thought that Roach Rush would have just outright killed Tier, but apparently having a single air unit is the
the key.
way to it just banishes Xena from your base.
To the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then the last but not least, Dominiondog versus Zozo in I would have to say a maybe predictable but not expected 2-1 towards. Wait, was that Zozo? Wait, did Dominiondog win it?
Yeah, no, Zozo won.
Zozo won.
Okay, I was like, they might have scored. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Did my brain just like short out? A 2-1 for Zozo. The cheese lives on. The power of the Zozo cheese is into the continuum. So there we go. And then we're gonna see in week 4 will be MicroMachine versus SharpenedEdge, Zozo versus Xena, and then the others are all brought down to the lower bracket, but we didn't get that filled out, so we'll just have to speculate who's against you.
Wow.
And then we got a little bit of they're gonna show us a little bit of a replays of what happened of the Zozo Dominiondog. They should be super short because, well, it was a short game. Let's see them.
Just right to the
that's basically
right to
what
butchery.
In a nutshell. In a nutshell, basically.
This one was interesting. Like, I wish this had played out.
Yeah, I would like to go back and look at game number 1 to see if Dominiondog was actually mining properly or not.
So what is the mining bug? Is this a map specific thing? Is this the
It is
Dominiondog
map specific. Certain mineral layouts cause Dominiondog to basically just glitch out and not mine with some of its SCVs, which happened in this game.
Is that a fault of like Dominiondog specifically?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
It was a bug that happened at some point and was never fixed on certain maps, and it is unfortunate. Yeah, they could fix it, and I'm sure they may do at some point. But for example, like game 3, they might have had enough money for a Marine without that bug. And
well, now they know, and nothing like a good hearty loss to remind you to fix your bugs.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you know you could win, I think that is it's always the healthiest thing. So loss. All right, so And then next week will be Group C and D. Yes,
Yep.
Group C and D. And then after that, we'll be down to seeing the lower brackets and then make an update. But until then, be sure, of course, you can subscribe. You know that bell button. You know, you hit it. You can boop it. Whatever those words they use, those YouTubers use, you do that thing. And more importantly, though, get your own bot on the ladder. So easy. Under an hour.
Mhm.
Python. You can, and you know what? Download Windsurf or VS Code. Use the AIs to just help you make more AIs. It's what Skynet would have wanted for all of us. What were you gonna say, laughing games? I think you were just recollecting.
Yeah, no, just
Yeah.
the AI tool IDEs are actually pretty helpful.
Really helpful.
Not so much for advanced behavior, but for
Mm.
simple Zergling rush bots, they can help get you there. I'm a testament to that.
Yeah, and always be mindful, of course, when using the AIs. If you let them go on their own, they'll just take the code and do as they please. But
Oh yeah, they'll take a
figure it
chainsaw to it if you let them.
out. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Any last words, guys, for this before we wrap it up? And this we just wrap anything you want to bring out?
No, just happy to be back at it, and yeah, looking forward to the season. We've had a bit of a layoff, so I want to see what what people are up to, innovations they've made. I think it'll be a good one.
And laughing games.
Yeah, no, it was just a blast to be here and see the bots in a tournament format and little things like the updates and the new experiments that the bot authors are trying is great to see, and ProBots is great to motivate the authors to do that.
Absolutely. All right, and then you out there in Robot Land, make sure you check us out next week when we get to Group C and D right here on same ProBots time, same ProBots channel. May the bugs be ever in your favor.